1. Yeehaw! Edgy bra.
Yo.
My man.
I like how we could just start the podcast like
Yeah.
just right off.
Yeah,
We do
fuck
the
commercials.
last.
Yeah.
I noticed that like
Yeah.
a week ago.
Changed the flow of the conversation.
Oh.
Made it way better. Yeah, that was bullshit because it was like, when I really realized it was bullshit, like I did a podcast with Stanhope and he was making fun of the commercials while I was doing it. And I was like, why am I doing commercials in front of them? Why don't I just do that later and stitch it in?
Yeah.
And I was lucky where the deal that I had for commercials was really just for iTunes. And so, like when I do this, it goes on YouTube first.
Yeah.
So as it streams on YouTube and you stream, no need for commercials. Fuck it. So, and then I put the ads in later.
I like that.
But on iTunes and on YouTube, there's no commercials.
You know what it changes to is this podcast is most of the time, anyways, is about just you and your friends just talking about bullshit.
Yeah.
You know? You're not getting right to. It's not like
Use the
Ari, it's not
promo
like
code
Ari just-
JRE.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
like Ari just wrote a book and he's
Right.
on here to promote it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like Paul Stanley and stuff. But
Now, I get a lot of those, but it's still, even with them, it's like you want to sit them down and go, so what's it like to write the book? How hard was it? How long does it take? Like, what's the
but
process?
The conversation before the podcast started, there's some serious conversations
Yeah.
going on. And then instead of just starting the podcast on a dime and then continuing the conversation, you hit the commercials and you never get back to that conversation.
a lot of the times.
That's what I noticed.
That's happened.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of times, like, we haven't seen each other in like a week or two, and we got a bunch of crazy shit to say to each other,
Yeah.
and you just start,
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And then by the time the podcast starts, so what's up, man?
You learn a lot about yourself, like listening to. You listen to your own podcast?
I listen to the good ones.
I don't at all. I can't stand listening to myself. I have no desire to listen to myself. The only time is when I'm going through Mastering the System, my tutorial. I do sit there and I am interested in how I'm teaching and what I said and how I could have made the point clearer in my teaching. So I that's the only time. But when it's a podcast and I'm not talking about jiu-jitsu and I'm just talking about like just bullshit, I don't want to hear myself.
It's good to hear though, but for the same reason, like you realize why you're annoying to you. Like I've found
Yeah.
things that I didn't know I did, like little ticks, little weird things like people do. Like a big one is saying like. People like there's like Tom Segura, I love him to death, but that motherfucker out-likes me. He hurts me sometimes with the likes. Like there's like a guy way like, if you got like a guy like, and there's like a way like,
Did he say that? Or
everybody does.
And
We
like
all
when,
do it.
when
We don't
guys
even know.
Go, when guys are telling this story, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
And he's like, she came up to me and started mad dogging me, and I was like, "What the fuck you looking at? I paid for all that shit." And you didn't say none of that. You just said, I was like that. I had that look on my face,
Right.
but I didn't say shit. And if you don't question, did you actually say that? You're like, no, I was thinking it. And like, if I wouldn't have asked you, you would have made it seem like you were this bad motherfucker in this story.
Saying the
but
right
you didn't,
shit.
in reality, you didn't say shit. And I was like, fuck you. Who paid for that shit? You said that?
No.
No.
I thought it.
I
thought it.
And I was like, fuck you, man. Fuck you and where you came from, bitch.
Did you actually say it to him?
No. Oh, man. I hate that shit.
Another one that I do that I need to figure out how to stop doing is I say I don't know. It's like, like you're trying to form your point. You're trying to like formulate it in your mind.
And now you sympathize more with black people when they're always saying, you know what I'm saying? You're like, we're basically doing the same thing. We're just not saying.
Exactly.
So why are we making fun? You know what I mean? Everybody says, you know. They just say no what I'm saying.
But if they stretched it out further, it would get even more ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? Word God. You know what I'm saying? Word God. If like, you know what I'm saying? Word God was like in the middle of every sentence.
Dude, I think you started something.
I think I might have started something. You know what I'm saying? Word God.
Hashtag, what did you say?
Hashtag, you know what I'm saying? Word God.
Yeah, shit.
Well, black guys were calling each other God for a while on the East Coast. It was a weird thing that was going on. Like I went to see Terry Norris fight at a bar with a friend of mine who's a comic and his buddy. We worked together, me and this comic, and he brought his buddy with him, and we all went to Terry Norris is fighting tonight. Let's go. We're gonna see Terry Norris fight live on whatever it was, HBO. And they were talking to each other, and they were talking to each other. Man, he hit him with that left hook, God. You see that jab, God? You see that head movement, God? And I was like, whoa, what are they doing? Like, is this I'm white, obviously. So I'm like, what the? Have I missed a meeting? Like, this seems to be a new thing. And then I remember shaking my head, going, this will not last. You guys, you're gonna feel silly for calling each other God in a couple of years. You can't just do this.
Or maybe you know what? A lot of people are trying to come up with their own shit and trying to make it stick. You know, some
but that was
ends
all
up panning out, some doesn't. But people they're trying.
That was a big one though.
Yeah.
That was everywhere. It wasn't like these guys. It was their shit. It was like black guys were doing that all throughout the East Coast in the '90s.
It's very prestigious to have your a saying you made up blow up.
Oh yeah.
There's one, and people always say, "Holler at me, holler at me."
Yeah.
This guy, Rico Santana, he started Scream at Me. He was pushing that. Scream at me, scream at me. And I'm not sure if it stuck.
Never heard it. When did he do this? How long ago?
5 years ago.
Yeah, dudes will try their own shit.
Hashtag Scream at Me.
Yeah, you want someone to holla at you, but holla is what's up. You know, that's not scream at you implies like they're angry at you. You're setting yourself up for danger.
I like it. Scream at me.
Scream at me, bitch.
Scream at me. Hey, but you say it like in a sexy voice.
Oh, okay.
Right? Like you tell a chick.
That chick's gonna stop calling you. She's gonna run away. She's not gonna respond to your text.
I don't know.
She's gonna be like, this
I don't
fucking
know.
dude's
Come on.
crazy.
Can you imagine that? Instead
Scream
of call
at
me,
me.
call me later. Scream at me.
I bet if you said it like that, well, you're a funny guy. So if you said it like that, it would probably work because she would start laughing.
Yo, scream at me. She'd be like, Wayne.
Listen, you
like to die?
silly bitch. I'll scream at you later.
Exactly. There you go. That's
Exactly.
it. Oh, it's gonna work for women.
How the fuck did those ticks, like little things like that, like what I'm saying, it's like where are those coming from? And then they're basically like complicated versions of even fucking. Like a lot of times people use fucking. This fucking guys is fucking same thing. It's all they're elongated versions. But fucking's the worst, right?
I do that a lot too.
I
used to. When you're younger, you do that more. And you're nervous. Nervous. There's a lot of fuckings. You're nervous. Like, fuck, man. And then I was like, fucking. And he was like, fucking. And I don't give a fuck. And I was like, fucking, fuck that dude.
When I was doing stand-up in Boston, they had a thing they used to call the fuck meter. They were saying, like, if you're going to go do stand-up, they would say, Eddie, don't break the fuck meter. Like, when you use them, they should mean something. And they were so right. It taught me so much because when I see a guy who says fuck too much, I know that guy's nervous. You know, if he starts fucking, I'm walking down the fucking street and this fucking chick is fucking, it's like you're off. There's something off. You're using one word too many times, no matter what word it is. And if it happens to be fucking, like you're trying to sound like you're together, or you're trying to sound like you're upset, but you're not really. Or if you are upset, you need to collect your thoughts. You know, and that's what you hear that when you listen to a podcast. Whereas you just like most of the time you're just talking. You don't remember how you said it. You just don't. Very rarely, unless something really crazy happens. You know, how often do you really remember how you said things? What's so funny?
No, I'm just thinking, man. I better not say it. It's something that I probably should not talk about, but it's funny to me, but it's not podcast material.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. The one thing that
Damn it, Eddie Bravo. Well, write that down, Jamie. The beginning, there's not a chance in hell you're going to remember what we talked about either. That's the worst.
Maybe I will write it in my notes. Oh, man, notes are huge. God damn it.
Do you use notes when you do your...
I use notes for every motherfucking
Do you do them for seminars? Or do you
everything.
Really?
On my notes.
On your phone, you mean?
Everything.
Do you transcribe it?
All my shit.
Do you do the voice transcription thing?
No, I haven't tried that.
It's so good, dude. So good. So accurate. It's incredible. Yeah. I use it all the time. Like, if I'm in my car and I got an idea, I used to get panicky. I'd be like, fuck, I got to pull over. And I'd start coming up with reasons to say the idea over and over and over again so that I didn't forget it. Mm-hmm. Now I just grab that phone, hit that button, and go blah, 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 blah. Put it down, I'm gone.
Yeah, I use it for jiu-jitsu a lot, for teaching. There's so much shit to master in jiu-jitsu. It's so vast.
It seems like it's getting
So
crazier
much.
too with the advent, like the more attention that people are putting on leg locks these days.
Yeah.
It seems like I'm watching jujitsu and I'm like, man, I see transitions on the ground that I understand, but when I see some leg lock transitions, I'm like, I have no idea where these guys are going.
Yeah.
I just see scrambles. I'm not sure. I'd have to watch that again and again and again to see how he set that up.
Yeah, you just got to get it broken down to you in a system.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like the rubber guard, because you have 5th degree, 6th degree, 8th degree black belts out there in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and they never really looked into the rubber guard at all, and they think, oh, they just throwing their legs up and they're grabbing their leg, and then there's an arm bar or a triangle and guys slip out, and then they're just grabbing their ankles. They don't realize how precise and microscopic it is. And that's what I used to think of leg locks. I thought leg locks were you just jump on legs. I'm a black belt and I'm still thinking this until about a year ago. I thought dudes just jumping on, you get that outside one or you get that inside one. I was pretty good at a heel hook coming off being mounted, but I didn't spend a lot of time with heel hooks. It just seemed like, ooh, I don't want to get my MMA fighters. I want to set a good MMA example, because I'm not going to be the one going in the cage. So if I'm trying to teach them this shit, I better be doing this shit. So I thought it's not a good idea to always go for leg locks. If you're going to do MMA, it's a great second or third option, last resort. Nothing's working. You can't take the guy down. You tried and maybe you almost got him down. You almost passed the guard. The guy's a beast. It's not working. Nothing's working. He's throwing you around. Nothing's working. It's a third round. You might tell this guy, if this guy in the gym was really good at leg locks, this is where you tell him, let's fucking go after his legs, because the chokes aren't working. We're not getting anywhere near his neck. You got one more round. Thank God that you could actually pull this off, because you're really good at leg locks. That's what I.
It was like a last ditch effort.
Yeah, last resort. If shit ain't work, because it's risky. They can work, but if they don't work,
You're on the bottom.
You're gonna get Alan Belchard. You know what I'm saying? And the best leg locker in the game right now is Eddie Cummings. He's an EBI 145 champion. He's
incredible.
He's incredible. He's like the Marcelo Garcia of leg locks.
And when you say Alan Belcher, we should explain what you mean. Like when he fought Paul Harris is like the best leg locker in MMA. Alan Belcher thought long and hard about this and worked a lot on the strategy and did a lot of leg lock defense.
He flew and he trains in
Tennessee,
Alabama. Or is it Alabama? God, Biloxi, Mississippi. Right, he's got his gym there. I forget. One of those places down there.
How to we?
But he flew in Dean Lister for that fight, and Davi Ramos, who just won Abu Dhabi. That guy's an animal.
I saw that flying armbar.
Yeah, that guy's the new star in town.
Yeah,
is Davi Ramos.
He's
but
badass.
Alan Belcher 3 years ago or 2 years ago, whenever that fight was, it was probably at least 3 years ago when that happened. When his fight with Rousimar Palhares, he flew both of them in, and he was already known as a really good leg locker, and yoked and shit. He looks like a mini little Palhares, a little smaller. And Alan Belcher said Dean Lister and Davi Ramos just wrecked him with legs for a month straight. Just wrecked him. And he just forced him to learn little by little. You find your safe spots. You figure out where you're safe. And maybe you're not getting out or escaping, but let's figure out where we could stay safe. And then we'll think about the escape later, you know?
Right.
That's how it all starts. And then you get really good at staying at that safe, just going right through that safe zone and right to the escapes, because, you know, you've done it so much the slow way. And then it starts blending little by little, boom. But anyways, Alan Belcher eventually learned how to deal with leg locks.
Amazingly.
Yeah. And then he proved it in the octagon in the UFC against the scariest leg lock guy out there. Still, to this day, still the scariest leg lock guy out there. And Palhares had many shots at Alan's leg. He would escape. And then Rousimar Palhares has this elaborate system. He knows exactly what he's doing. It's you have to spend a lot of time there and really analyze the possibilities and all the angles. When you're attacking legs, it really is an entirely different system. Just legs. Yeah. But we're also learning that it's not a be-all, end-all, especially in MMA. Palhares has been jacked a couple times, and even the best guy right now, Eddie Cummings, when he goes in and he competes, he's tapping everybody with heel hooks. But he needs 2 or 3 tries at those legs. Guy's going to defend the first time. It's always the same as matches. He'll get guys really quick, too. 30 seconds, 12 seconds, boom, he just jumps on legs, and he's like, dudes are like, oh, shit. You know, he has, but generally, against the top guy, the guy's going to pull out of his shit like 2 or 3 times. Eddie might just let him think that, oh, look, I can't control him, and then just setting him up, just playing with him, letting him go, and then coming back, just knowing that he's going to get those legs eventually. He just
Wearing you out even.
Yes. And then, but in MMA, man, you got to go in there. It better work that first fucking time. Because if that guy finds a little safe zone and he has a safe zone where he could punch you, it could be lights out.
Yeah.
Risky, very dangerous. So, regardless of how sophisticated and awesome leg locks are overall right now in grappling, still in MMA, they're still dangerous. But it's a very important secret weapon when, you know, the safer stuff, like, you know, taking him down and passing his guard and mounting him and getting his back and nice and safe. You're not going to reverse shit on me. You can't punch me. You can't punch me. I'm all over you. Boom, bam, bam, nice and safe and dominating. You know, it's always a better idea to try to do that first. If you can do that, why would you give him a chance at your face while you're going for leg locks?
Right.
You might get it, but you're giving him a shot. Man, all he's got to do is be a little bit good at defending a little bit. Defend that shit. He's used to it. Bam, bam, done.
Especially if you got a guy. You remember that Crow Cop Gonzaga fight, the last one, where Crow Cop was on top of Gonzaga and blasting him with elbows? And
Yes.
you saw what
Yes.
happens when you get a scary, scary striker like Crow Cop on top of you and you're not controlling his posture.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
you can't forget that kind of shit. Can't forget that, because Crow Cop might be the only guy we've seen do it like that, do it that quickly and devastatingly. But that means it's possible. Like, just because you're in someone's guard, that shit isn't safe. You know, like Tito never had the kind of speed and precision as a striker that Crow Cop has. So Crow Cop's elbows, even his short elbows, are just so devastating. But Tito used to fuck guys up from inside their guard. He never bothered passing people's guard. It's like, good luck holding on to me. Boom! And he would just jack guys from that position.
And the best ever was Uriah Faber. Nobody threw elbows better than him because he was so small and his opponent was so small. He could lay and pray in someone's full guard. Lay and pray. Lay on him. Just because top guy's got to clinch too. Bottom guy's throwing elbows. Bottom guy could punch. So if you're in someone's guard, you're in some danger with strikes too and submissions if the guy knows what he's doing. But he would pick dudes up. He'd be land prey, but then he would like spring up like he's doing some kind of like back extension. He'd pick him up and then slam him on the ground, followed by an elbow, like a rhythm. Pa-pa, pa-pa. He'd lift him up, pa-pa. He'd lift him up, pa-pa. It was a fucking amazing rhythm.
that was
And
the
then-
King of the Cage days, right?
No, that was WEC days.
Oh, was it?
That was before the UFC bought the WEC. This was back when it was in
Was that in
Santa
Lemoore,
Barbara, or
California? Yeah.
somewhere in San Luis Obispo or some
Yeah,
shit.
it's way up north, right?
Yeah, and he used to fuck people up like that. But then he learned how to pass the guard, and he got really good at jiu-jitsu. So instead of staying there, he thought, even this guy with the most devastating ground and pound, you don't see it anymore because he's going to try to pass the guard and mount you and take your back and choke you. He knows the way now.
His
you know.
guillotines too. When he gets a hold of dudes' necks, he's so nasty.
Yeah.
His guillotines are just so tight and quick.
When you think of someone, you try to think of a UFC fighter who's known for a special submission that like Ronda, you're like armbar, bam.
Paul Sass,
you know what I mean?
triangles.
Bam. There's only a few guys that you see the submission right next to him, right when someone talks about him. And Uriah Faber, he's got that
Guillotine.
little special guillotine he does. There's so many different ways to guillotine necks, so many different ways, and the way that Uriah Faber does it. I'm not even good at that way. I never even get in that position. I never find myself in that one. It's like a whole beautiful little path and just a dangerous choke. I really got to sit down and look into it. Really, now that I'm thinking about it and talking about it, I'm like, what am I doing? There's just so much to do. That was the beginning of this conversation.
Yeah.
There's so much to teach. I have to write shit in my notes. Boom, I brought it back. That's the one thing that I hate listening to myself talk is because I'll have like a story I want to say, but then I think, okay, let me set it up. So when I'm listening to my shit, I used to listen to my podcast and I see it and I'm dissecting like what I do. I'm like, I'm trying to make a point, but I never get to the point because I go so far back to set it up that by the time I get to the point, I already thought of another story and I'm going way over here. And
That's called weed.
Yes. Yes, I hate that about me. Shit. So when I hear myself do it, I go, there I go. I'm talking about something else. Never even finished the fucking point. I had a good point, too. And I just forgot about it. I never got to it.
We all do that. It's when you get high.
I digress so much.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a game. Like, let's try to figure out where this all started. We're trying to backtrack. Boom, boom, boom.
We do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I do it all the time on this podcast. If we get high, it just goes on its own. You know, it's like you got to accept. Maybe we should let people know before the podcast. This is a marijuana-induced podcast. Some of them are sober. This one's not. So there you go. If you're like going, what the fuck are they talking about? Well, there's that too. So weed decides what you want to talk about.
Yeah. And now you got Ryan Hall, man. Now we got a little dude who's coming in with a Husamar Paharis type threat to the legs as well. How good is he going to do? And you know what? His stand-up, it looks like his footwork's together. He looks like he's got,
Calm,
decent striking. It looks like he knows how to move on his feet. And he's been at TriStar, so he's working his wrestling all the goddamn time. Is his wrestling going to be good enough to take anybody down in the top 10?
What is he weighing? What is he competing at? What weight class?
145,
He's going to stay there, or is he going to go to 35?
I'm not sure. A
lot of guys, they do tough at a weight class above, I think, because if you're going to make the extreme weight cut that a lot of guys make, you're going to need 6 to 8 weeks. Whereas if you're on tough, you got to do it multiple times over the course of 6 weeks. And for a lot of dudes, like almost everybody started out a higher weight class. Like, Michael Bisping, even though he competed at 205 and beat a lot of guys at 205, he fought on the Ultimate Fighter 205. 185 is a better weight class for him.
Yeah.
Same with Kelvin. Kelvin won it at 185, but he's better at 170.
Yeah. It's almost like if you're going to do the Ultimate Fighter, you do your walk-around weight. Do your like if you had to do something same day weigh-in, do that weight. That's always the next weight category.
Yeah.
Unless you want to get super crazy. Some guys just say, fuck it, same day weigh-in. I'm still going to cut like a motherfucker.
I just think when you're on that show and you're going to do that several times over 6 weeks, and then on top of that, it's the nerves and all the TV cameras, your first experience, you're better off just not doing anything that's going to drain you.
He might go to 35. I mean,
how does he look at 45?
He's kind of like a skinny, wiry guy. At 45, right now, so far in the house, I think he had one fight, and he had a fight to get in. So far, with just those 2 fights, he's already world-renowned leg lock master. Uriah on the show. You watch the show, though?
I haven't seen the season at all.
Dude, come on.
I got it recorded. I watched it all. I'm a binge watcher.
Tough with Conor McGregor? Holy motherfucking shit.
How good
You're
is
gonna put... It's like the best ever. Are you kidding? It's the best motherfucking tough of all time. That's the best one. How are you going to get better than Conor McGregor on your goddamn TV show? A fight show? Oh, man, he gets under Uriah's skin. Oh, he starts a lot of shit, man. He's the ultimate shit talker,
Isn't
man.
it fucked up that he called T.J. Dillashaw a snake in the grass,
Dude,
and
he
then
don't give a
Dillashaw
fuck.
wound up leaving?
That's crazy.
That's some prophet shit. That's some old
Yeah.
Celtic
He
warrior
just calling
prophet
out
shit.
McGregor just calling it like if he just figures if he just calls it like he sees it, no filter, just call it like you see it. Don't hold it in. Just no editing. Just let it all out.
He's from Dublin. Like they talk mad shit over there, dude. It's a totally different like style of shit talking.
The ultimate tough would be Chael coaching one team and McConnor coaching another team, and they're different weight classes. Like Chael could walk around at 230. If he's not fighting, he's way bigger than Conor. So, but Conor is so alpha. He's not gonna like Chael's gonna like big brother him and go, oh come on. At first, like come on, you're too small for me.
Chael would find a workaround.
You know what I mean?
Chael would figure out an unorthodox approach to dealing with Conor.
No, he would deal like listen, you're 160 pounds. You're 160
You're
pounds.
a cute fella.
And then, but Conor's not going to take that.
Right.
Conor's not going to sit there and be the little 160 pound, tiny little fighter to Chael. He's not going to big brother him.
I think he's bigger than 160. I really do.
He's like 170 or whatever.
Which is crazy that he fights at 145.
Think about the shit talking between them two.
Pretty incredible.
Shit. shit.
But you'd have to get Chael off of his suspension. He's got a 2-year suspension.
And then Conor would
Right?
have to agree to fight him at a catch weight. It'll end up being
No.
Conor will go, let's meet it at 180. If you can get down to 180 or 185.
He can't get down to 180.
Or maybe Conor just says, fuck it, we're going to fight free weight. Absolute, bitch.
Well, I mean, Conor and Uriah aren't fighting. I mean, the show's hilarious, and they're not fighting. The coaches don't need to compete against each other at the end
Yeah.
for it to be good.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. They don't need that.
No.
That would just happen because of Conor. Conor wouldn't be able to take it. Conor would call him out and say, let's do this shit.
You know what would be interesting? It would be
Open weight.
interesting to see someone coach on opposite of Ronda, like a dude coach opposite of Ronda.
Conor and Ronda. Oh, dude, Conor and
Jesus
Ronda.
Christ.
That would crush.
The ratings.
Dude, that would break the fucking.
That would break it. That would be the greatest ratings of all time. There would be no greater. Conor and Ronda together on a show. And what if they wound up having an affair?
Oh,
It'd be giant news. Dana would probably pull them aside, give them some ecstasy, say, "Listen,
dude.
you guys want to make a lot of money?"
Can you imagine? That would be like
would
Brad
be
Pitt and
giant.
Angelina Jolie of MMA,
The
right there,
Brad
right?
Pitt- yeah, them them eloping together. It'd be so similar. That's
It
hilarious.
would be the exact same thing. It would be the exact same motherfucking thing. He's the real Fight Club, and she's the #1 chick on the planet who has more power than Angelina Jolie. She can go to any goddamn country easily. She wants to go meet the president of fucking Uganda.
Oh,
She
yeah.
can make that happen.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
gonna fuck yeah. You kidding? Fuck. He's gonna send a private jet for her.
Well, she's become like an ambassador for like. It's not just.
She
like,
can get into anybody's
Yeah.
house.
Yeah, she's not just an actress.
Yeah.
She does so much humanitarian work. She adopts so many kids.
Isn't that awesome?
It's amazing what they
Come
do. I mean, a lot of people trivialize it because we always have suspect motives. We always suspect like, oh, they're just doing it for the publicity. Oh, she's just fucking crazy. But at the end of the day, she's adopting a bunch of people and spending a bunch of time working to help all these sick, needy, and poor people. I mean, she does some pretty incredible shit, man. That's a lot of positive energy.
I mean, it's probably why she's had the most amazing career ever. I mean, she's hot and everything, but there's a lot of hot chicks out there. She
remains relevant because
yes.
of all that philanthropy.
It seems
work.
like she wouldn't be doing all that she's doing if she didn't appreciate life way more than the average person. So she's living in a state of appreciation so much. She's wanting to give back so much and change the world. She's so into it. And that's just like a overproduction of appreciation. And then look at her career. Anything
Yeah.
she comes out with, she's A-list all the way through.
Not only that, even if her movies suck, people just forget about them. They
Yeah.
just don't talk about them anymore.
Yeah.
It's not like Angelina Jolie sucks. But if they were going to do like Alien 6 with Angelina Jolie, you'd be like, oh, shit, Angelina Jolie's going to be in the Alien movie.
Yeah.
Like, you would never think, like, oh, this is how bad the cast is. They're gonna
She's
get in.
done like that Cinderella type movie. It's kind of like a Disney super animated. but it's her,
Cruella, right?
Something
She
like
had
that.
yeah.
I don't know how big that was. Maybe that did
That was
like
big.
100 million or something.
It was big. It was
Was
big
it?
for kids. Yeah.
Perfect for her.
Yeah. She could do anything. I mean,
Man.
like movie star wise, any role that she really wants to pursue, she could do. For now, you know, as she gets into her 40s, it'll be harder and harder.
Yeah.
That's what it is for those women, like those Meryl Streep type women who were just smashing it in the 80s, just killing it. She's such a good actress. God damn, she's good. She's so believable. It's just so. But as they get like in their 50s and in their 60s, it's hard to find roles. There's not a lot of movies made about 60-year-old ladies.
Yeah.
You know, like, so you have like a support role that may or may not be juicy. It might be boring. Might not be
Someone's
interesting.
mom. Once you
Mhm.
start playing the moms.
Well, that was one of the things that Robin Williams was saying. Rob Williams was saying before he died that it was really getting really hard for him because the only things that he was being offered that were interesting at all were like scale or sometimes not even scale. Like you have to do it for free.
No way.
Yeah. Like student
Wow. I thought he was
projects.
still huge.
He was. But the things that he found interesting, he would do these movies that were just, they didn't have any money. They didn't have any budget, but those were the interesting. Like, did you ever see that 24-hour film, 24-hour photo? What was it called? I think it was called 24-Hour Photo or something like that. He played a psycho, like a real psycho that like starts
Oh, I
stalking
heard
his
about
family.
that. Yeah.
It
Was that his last
fucking
Was that his
good.
last film?
No. That was a few years ago. But he started getting interested in doing these like small independent films like that. And you know, they would offer him like a piece of the back end or something like that probably. But he had a huge nut. He had a giant ass house up in like Northern California. 1 Hour Photo, that's what it was. Dude, he was so good in that movie. God damn it. You would never believe that he's a hilarious. You'd never believe that the same guy from Mork and Mindy would be this fucking creeper in 1 Hour Photo. He was awesome in it. But my point being, he had a estate in Northern California that was worth like $20 million. He had like all these bills. He had like crazy mad bills.
Following his heart with these roles crushed him.
No. He had some serious physical issues. You know, he committed suicide for whatever reason. Only he knows. But there was a lot going on. He had Parkinson's disease. He had some sort of dementia that apparently was coming on. His mind wasn't functioning very well. His body was failing. He had a massive heart attack. Okay, he had a massive heart attack. And then in going through heart surgery, Dr. Mark Gordon, you met Dr. Gordon, right? You met that guy?
I don't know.
He's the one that does all the work with traumatic brain injury patients. And he said that when people go through any kind of a giant surgery like that, like heart surgery, where you have to be under for a long period of time, a lot of times your hormonal system is devastated after that. Your body's like really fucked up. And it can send you into a depression. Like the recovery from a major like heart surgery, like what he had done, is apparently like it's a devastating thing on your body. It takes a long time to recover from, and in that recovery process, he thinks that a lot of patients suffer from massive depression, and there's like a correlation between suicide attempts post surgery that he thinks possibly could be attributed to this devastating effect that being under for a long period of times and then the trauma of the surgery can have on you. So he had a lot going that was wrong before he killed himself.
Yeah, all the energy, this is just me guessing. This is like bro biology. But I'm guessing that when you're going through something like that and you're about to die and going through some major surgery, your body's like, we're not thinking about being happy at all right now. We're thinking about being alive, so it stops all serotonin production just to keep you alive. And when you recover, your shit is so depleted that maybe that's why you're depressed. That's me guessing.
It could be. It's also could just be it's a massive strain on the system. You know, it's one of the reasons why they would prescribe steroids after surgery is they would prescribe it, especially to athletes when they get injured, not just to make them recover quickly, but because during that recovery process, your body is very weak. Like when you have some major shit going on with your body, you have some major shit fixed. Like for the X amount of weeks afterwards, depending upon how old you are and how healthy you are, you feel wrecked. You just feel wrecked. You're just like, oh, because your body's like, danger, resources. Dude, we got screws in our fucking knee. We have, there's an incision, there's stitches, there's screws in the patella and in the bottom. This is crazy. He cut off a piece of our patella tendon and stuffed it inside where the ACL used to be. There's no ACL, all this inflammation. Like your body's on just like crash alert. Your body knows some pretty devastating severe shit has happened to it. So I think depending upon how healthy you are, it can be rough times afterwards. And I think for an older dude like him, who already has these physical issues, I don't know if Parkinson's happened before or if he had the symptoms appeared.
How did he kill himself again?
He hung himself.
Damn. Damn.
Yeah, man.
Is that a
common?
quick way to go in suicide? People do that. They want to suffer a little bit.
They do if they don't want to shoot themselves, or they don't want to suffer from pills. You know, there's only a few ways to go. California actually just passed a law for assisted suicide, which is going to be interesting. I don't know the particular details of the law, but when people are terminally ill, like if you're dying of cancer or something like that, you're just in agony every day. Now, finally, you can end your own life, and you can have doctor-assisted suicide. You know, they've been doing it to people, either on the sneak tip, or people have had to go to states where it's legal. Like I believe it's legal in Oregon, but now it's going to be legal here too. It's amazing that you can't. You have to.
Eventually, everyone has to think about shit like
people
that.
Put their dog down. Okay, your dog's in agony. You put your dog down, but not Grandpa. Grandpa's got to suffer. Grandpa's got to just keep shitting his pants and throwing up and falling down and breaking all his bones and then stitch him back together again and give him some pills. And if Grandpa was a dog, you would have put Grandpa out a long time ago. You know, if Grandpa says, look, I'm ready to go, You bring in the doctor. The doctor, are you of sound mind? Yes. Well, I'm 95 years old. I've had a great life. I have a wonderful family around. I'd like them to be around when I pass. And that's it. And you go, which is probably a good way to go, man. It's probably a good way to go. I think the idea that you're supposed to suffer and make it to the end because it's natural, well, that's not how we treat our cats. You know, if your cat is in fucking agony, man, you put your cat down. Your dog gets hit by a car and he's not going to make it and he's just howling. You put your dog down. This idea that people have to make it to some fucking finish line.
Darkness.
It is dark.
Yeah.
Darkness. Embrace that darkness. The
Say
darkness
something
makes you
happy.
appreciate the light. You know? That kind of shit that makes you appreciate the light.
Yeah, man. It's like we're all going to have to deal with that sooner or later, or you die early. You know, one or the other. You're going to go through that old age in the hospital, falling apart, people taking care of you. Everybody's going to go through that, or you're going to die before that.
Yeah, one or the other. My friend from Boston just died. My boss, when I was starting out doing stand-up comedy, I stayed friends with him for the past 26 years. His name's Dave Dolan. He was a private investigator, and he needed a driver because he lost his license with a DUI. And he said, "Fuck it, I'm quitting drinking. That's it. But I need a driver," because he still had to work. So we put an ad out in the want ads for private investigator's assistant. And I answered the ad, and I met this dude, and he was fucking hilarious. It was mostly insurance cases. Occasionally, it would be like a guy who thinks his wife's cheating on him, but most of it was insurance cases where people would pretend to be injured, and they would get another job, like working for cash under the table.
Yeah.
And you'd catch them because like the insurance company was paying them millions of dollars or whatever they were paying them, and then they would go get another job. Probably not millions, you know. Maybe they were suing, whatever it was. Most of these people, they would get up early in the morning and go work other jobs, so we would just wait. So we would drive to this location, go up the street, so our car would be facing that house, and we shut the car off and wait. We'd get there real
Just like the
early.
movies.
Like 4 o'clock in the morning. But you're sitting there at 4 o'clock in the morning waiting for this dude to wake up. You just start talking shit. And he would just talk shit. He was hilarious.
Who would talk shit?
Dave, this guy Dave.
Oh, your partner.
Yeah. He was one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life. Like,
How old are you at this time?
I was 21.
And you were doing stand-up
just,
already?
Just starting stand-up. I was just doing open mic nights. I was still fighting. He was one of the last guys to see me fight. And he would just talk shit about, like, he was one of those guys that, like, women could never, ever get him to change. Like, it was impossible. Like, there was no like, what should I do? Man, she wants me to change. She wants me to change the way I'm dressing. She wants me to move into some new neighborhood. She wants me to quit my job, and, you know, maybe I'm going to convert and become Jewish. There was none of that in that dude. None. From the moment I met him. He was like, "Fuck that. You do that. That's the beginning of the end, pal. Listen, that's how they get you." And he would always just be laughing, like, never. I don't believe he was ever married. He might have been. But even if he was, I'm sure that chick had zero control of that guy. That guy was crazy. He was hilarious. He was a guy that was meant to be a comedian that never became a comedian. 100%. He could have been a world-class comedian. He was fucking funny, and he was insightful. And his cousin actually owned the Comedy Connection. His cousin was Bill Downs, who was one of the owners of the Comedy Connection. So I didn't even know this when I started working for him. And he's asking me, you know, what do you do? And I told him the whole deal, and he was like, "My cousin's Billy Downs." I'm like, "I do open mic nights there." He's like, "No shit." And so he easily, like, if he just decided to go and do it, he just never did it. He easily could have been a comedian. He was fucking hilarious. And we would do these things. We would show up at people's houses, and he would have like a list of license plates. And on one of those license plates would be the license plate of the person that we're looking at. Mm-hmm. The other ones would be scratched out, and maybe a couple more. He'd just write a few in and get to this one. And he would say, "Listen, my girl was in a hit-and-run accident, and this guy, he took off, but someone got the plate, and they didn't get it all, but they got this amount of it, you know." And the guy would go, "Well, that definitely wasn't me. Hey, well, wow, I'm so sorry to hear that. Is she okay?" I go, "Well, she's going to be all right, but she's got a bulging disc in her L7," which is exactly what this guy's injury was. And the person would go, "That's crazy. I have that same injury." "Oh, no kidding, huh? well, you getting the compensation? And the guy would go, yeah, you're getting paid? And oh, yeah, it's great. They're paying me. And I'm also working under another name. Like, they would just tell you. Like, this woman told us that very story. She told us she was working under her maiden name. Then she had us inside for coffee. This is how crazy people were in 1988. They have you in their fucking house for coffee. We didn't know this lady. It was two men. I mean, I was 21, and he was probably like 31, 32 at the time. And he had us in her fucking house and drink coffee with us. And Dave's asking her, so how do you work that? And she's telling him, oh, well, I just use my maiden name. Like, so what happened to you?
And he's tape recording it.
No, he's just listening. So he goes, so did you get hurt? Or did you just bullshit the whole thing? She's like, well, I got hurt a little bit, but I was fine a little. So I went to the doctor, and the doctor looked at me like, she gave up the whole story. And then we left. I was like, God, I feel so bad. We can't rat her out. She was so nice. He goes, fuck her. She goes. Fuck her. we got in the car, and I felt terrible because this lady was so nice, and she let us in on her scam. Like, fuck her. She's a fucking scammer. Fuck her. He would never ever show any sympathy for those people that were like scamming insurance. Like, that was the game. It was like, I'm the sheepdog, you're the coyote, I'm gonna jack you. It's like that cartoon where they would go.
So you wouldn't follow him. You would just see him walking, and then you'd go up to him.
Totally depends. Sometimes we would actually show up at the job site. We'd catch a guy like on a roof with a fucking bag of shingles on his back.
And then what do you do? What do you say?
Just find out where the guy is. Find out you take photos. He had a camera. Take photos of the guy. And go, look, this guy's working. And then, And then what usually would happen, I believe the way they would work is the insurance company would threaten the person and would say they're going to have him arrested for forgery and for fraud, rather. And then the person would either settle or they would maybe have to pay some of the money back. And the insurance company just knew they were being scammed.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to.
Did you ever have to fuck anybody up?
No. Nothing ever got ugly. Nothing even got yelly. Dave.
What year was this?
88.
80-fucking-8.
Yeah, Dave was like real good at talking to people. He was like but he loved it. He loved the scamming people. He loved it. He just loved it. Oh, you're getting paid though, aren't you? Like he would love like baiting them in and getting them to talk about it. And he would get in the car and start laughing. Ha ha ha! That fucking dummy. He gave us everything. Ha ha ha! Look at these photos. Perfect. He goes. Fuck him.
He goes.
Fuck him.
How would Joey do him?
That would be a rough. I'd have to think about that.
Oh.
He was. I don't know, man. I mean,
fuck him.
But he just died of cancer. Cancer last week. Real quick, apparently. I started getting some emails and messages about it. I was like, no way. And
when was the last time you talked to him?
Last time I was in Boston, just a few months ago, and I'm going back to Boston in January, and I was gonna get him tickets to the fights, and I was hoping to have some dinner with him or something, hang out with him. But we stayed friends. We stayed friends all this time. He was a good dude, man. Stayed being a private investigator. Every now and then he would call me up with some crazy fucking story. One of them was this guy whose girlfriend was getting fucked by this bodybuilder. She was meeting this gorilla who was just ragdolling her, just fucking savage fucking her. And this guy kept wanting to get her followed. Like the guy was like a real nerdy guy, he's like a computer guy, and his girlfriend was just getting mauled all the time by this dude. And he suspected it, so he hires a private investigator. And then Dave was like, dude, I can't keep taking pictures of your girl getting fucked by this giant guy. It's starting to get creepy, okay? so we're done here. just like walk. But him telling him, this guy's like, oh, go follow her tomorrow. He goes, follow her tomorrow? Are you looking at the pictures I'm looking at? Because he would like take pictures of this guy just
I need more
stuffing
pictures.
her. Oh,
he probably loved those pictures.
I bet he did. Well, he's probably a cuckold, like that's what they say. That's like a whole style of porn now. It's like a guy, it's usually like black guys, like a white guy who's nerdy. He's like, yeah, sure, come on in. Like, oh man, is your wife? Oh shit, I don't need your wife. Was this hot? She is my wife. I'm not sure if I want you talking about her like that. Talking about her, blah, blah, fuck her. This bitch wants my dick. Oh, she want this dick, bitch? And like, oh, she's sucking my dick right in front of you. Like,
there's porn like that?
A whole
and there's an
style.
old man? There's always old, like husbands and shit?
She's like a feeble guy and a black guy with a fucking
He never pulls his dick out?
Black guys?
No,
do?
the guy.
Black guy? I'm sure there's
Because
some
that would
of the
fuck
white
it up.
guys pull
It's
their
like,
dick out.
"Urgh."
Yeah, most of the time the
The
white
guy
guys
getting abused. The husband never fucks.
well, I'm sure there's some of the husband fucks too. I'm sure there's some where the husband gets
That would
fucked.
kill it.
I'm sure there's some where the husband has to suck the guy's dick. Like maybe the wife fucks maybe the husband has to sit there. This is the ultimate cuckold. The husband has to sit there while this giant fucking super athlete fucks his girl, and then when the guy comes, he comes in the husband's mouth. That's the ultimate one. It's the only time the husband sucks the guy's dick. But as he could get over here, get your head over here. He puts the guy's head right down on the wife's stomach while he's just fucking plowing it. And then he pulls it out and stuffs it in the dude's mouth. Right now, someone's writing this down and they're making this video. They're like,
probably
we're
exists.
shooting it this week.
Dudes on Twitter sending you links that already exist.
It's like a whole trilogy.
That's actually quite normal.
It's probably a website. Oh, comeinthehusbandsmouth.com. You never been? You don't even know that website, bro? Yeah. Whatever you can think of, man. When you were first exposed to porn, I was exposed like in high school. That's when I first found out about porn. It was all so normal. It was just the worst thing that would happen is two people get together and they'd have sex. That was it. That's all that ever happened. But then somewhere around the time, like we were in our
Germans and the Japanese.
Oh, you mean shit porn? So that's not even porn. That's just fucking weird. But even just regular porn became more about like gagging and fucking
Gagging?
Yeah, girls like even when they suck dick now, it's like they're doing it like they're trying to kill themselves. Like
Is that the
they're
new
trying to commit
thing?
Suicide
Is
on
that the
dick.
new thing? I didn't know that. The gagging noises is good.
There's a lot of that, dude. You've never
Gag,
seen?
bitch, gag.
Oh, there's a lot of that. It seems like people got bored with the regular stuff, and then it got more and more and more.
Gag me
extreme.
later.
Ah!
Gag at me.
Scream at me later, and I'll make you gag. Too long.
Yeah. it's too-
Hashtag.
it's too long.
Hashtag scream at me later, and I'll make you gag.
Oh man.
Well, I was talking about this the other day with Chris Ryan, that like porn, like the look of a girl's vagina, like shaved vaginas, that's the only way now. Like there's very few bushes.
Yeah.
If a girl
Can't
has
have
a
a
bush these days, like she's taking a big chance. She's being very eccentric. But back then, it was all bushes.
There was a point in time when I was like 22 that I actually preferred a little bush because when girls would shave, it would like burn, like it would like scafe my cock.
Oh, because
you know what I mean? Because of the stubble.
Yeah.
But when they left it kind of bushy, it was all nice and squishy. Felt
Point.
better.
Good point.
I was really into it. So when a girl had a little bush, I'm like, damn, I'd like to squish into her.
Some girls get all crazy lasered and shit. They do their legs, their pussy,
Nothing wrong with
everything.
that. Laser that shit.
But isn't that nuts, man? That we use like a light beam. To
We don't want
cook the
hair on
skin?
them. Are there cultures where girls with hairy legs are hot?
Must be.
There's got to be a couple countries, at least 3.
Well, how about that country in Africa? Was it Suri, where they cut their lips and they put plates in them?
Yep,
And the bigger the plate, the more cattle you're worth when you get married?
yep.
What? Who's fucking...
I want to know
How'd
that
that
story.
happen?
I want a documentary on how that happened, like the evolution of that big plate on that lip. Like, when did it get cool? Who brought it up? Who is the Helio Gracie of them lip fucking plates? Who made that shit up? You know what I mean? And there's got to be a story.
Well,
Some
I've heard
kid-
speculation that the way they did it, they made the girl's lip like that so that she wouldn't be attractive to slaves, so slavers, the people that were like trying to get slaves.
How did it get to that point?
Yeah, I know, right?
That'd be like everyone agreed on that. Like,
Well, don't a lot of people that have like a lot of like metal in their face and shit, and a lot of people have crazy piercings in their cheeks and their nose and their lips. Don't people usually say that that's a sign? Like, and this is total bro psychology, right? But that's a sign of people that have been abused. Isn't that like usually a sign of people that have had something like bad happen to them? Right?
maybe
Doesn't-
like back in olden times before there was mental institutions,
Mm-hmm.
like the crazy people of the village, the town, the big cities, like in Rome, all the crazy people, they just went out to the fucking jungle and started their own little culture, and some of them are fucking nuts. Like, who thought of these stories?
How'd the Romans get all the way to Africa? Did they ever make
Who
it to
invented that
Africa?
plate lip?
Yeah, I think it was probably. It makes sense though. If you look at like when you see, if you see a girl with a bunch of shit in her face, don't you immediately assume like, oh, this girl's probably molested? don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Whether or not that's fair or not,
Yeah.
just being honest.
It's probably totally not true.
It's probably totally not true, but you assume it, right?
Yeah.
Automatically, because we've developed a correlation between people that like girls with face tattoos or 5 eyebrow rings and a nose ring and 2 lip rings and a tongue ring and all.
Yeah.
Okay, what's going on here?
There's definitely the signs of abuse. Like for me, growing up with long hair, that was. I thought when I was growing up, my dad was never around, and my stepdad didn't give a shit. I thought like, that doesn't affect me. I'm too strong. I'm 12 and 13. I'm 15, 16. I'm always thinking that never affected me. I didn't need no fucking dad. It was always that way. That didn't affect me. But when I look back at the pictures of my big Mexican family, there's all these normal-looking people, and then there's the dude like at the wedding with the long hair who's pissed off that he's there and not hanging out with his friends. It was always me, pissed. Pictures like just like this. It was like normal for me to be like at the wedding, at the quinceañera, at the big whatever shindig, just pissed off that I'm not with my friends and playing music and listening to Slayer and shit. And I thought I wasn't affected. I was so affected. I was a drummer in speed metal bands writing satanic lyrics, and I thought I wasn't affected. My hair was long. I was always in a pissed off mood. Like, oh no, I'm fine. I'm fine. That shit, I'm too strong for that shit. Fuck my dad. I don't need him. I didn't give a shit. But damn, he damaged me.
Of course.
There was damage right there. Shit.
Every kid that doesn't get paid attention to, it's a core component of being a human being, like food, like water, like being out in the sun. All those things are important for the development of a human being. Attention and love from your family is what makes you a loving person. Like you become loving when you're loved. When you're not loved, you turn inward, you get angry, you get aggressive. That's what happens to people. It's natural. When you find people that are abused, they're usually, a lot of times those people wind up being abusive themselves. They lash out, I wonder if that is what happened with the Surrey women, that they were like being taken as slaves, and so they just started doing fucked up shit to their face to make themselves unattractive.
And they started their own little camp, and then it turned into a village, and then boom, it's a bunch of fucking crazy people. Started by like one crazy dude. He was like the one dude who's in those piercing circuses. What do you call those things? That's like
piercing circuses. Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Those crazy weird freak shows, but with a lot of piercings and shit like that. like like they have like a million. They're hanging from fucking like some crane. Yeah. I mean, I'm down with tattoos. You know that. I like tattoos, but maybe not all over the face. Generally, you want it a little bit. You know what I mean? Like the Mike Tyson one, I like it now. Mike Tyson's a bad motherfucker. I like it. And then Kat Von D got some stars and shit a little bit. And the neck ones are cool and all that shit too. That's all. But when you're hanging from a crane and you got these rings all around your skull and they're hanging you, Jesus, there's something. I want to know what happened.
Yeah, something happened.
Yeah, something happened.
Yeah. Well,
maybe it was just like me. Maybe his father wasn't around. And
well, just think about your situation was bad, right? But we all know people who it was way worse. Like you got through uninjured. No one was raping you. There's like you got through, like relatively
absolutely.
speaking.
I wouldn't change a thing
right.
about my life.
Nor would I. But a lot of people didn't, right? And when you see like really fucked up people, like really crazy out there people, a lot of times that's what they're reacting to. Whatever kind of abuse it was, right? Whether it was sexual abuse, whether it was violence, whether it was abandonment, whatever it is, whatever pain and hurting, made them try to become something different, or try to seek out others like her or like him. That's what people do when they form these. It's like what you're talking about, like being at the wedding, like wanting to be with your friends. I remember that exact same feeling. I only felt normal when I was with my friends.
Yeah.
That's it. Like every time else, I was like, oh my God, I can't be here. I can't do this. I can't do this.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this. I just got to go to my friends and everybody will relax together. We'll be able to talk and laugh and fuck off. That was like always the appeal of hanging out at the pool hall. When I was young, when I started hanging out at this place called Executive Billiards in White Plains with my friend Johnny that died from drugs, that place was just we were all misfits. It was like how the Comedy Store is. That's what Mitzi Shore actually calls the Comedy Store the island of misfit toys. That's like her nickname for it, because all these weirdos come from all over the world, but they go there and they realize when they're there, like, there's other people like me. There's other people like me. I just had to find them. I just had to find these fuckers. They weren't at the wedding. They weren't at the quinceañera.
Yeah. Back then, like when I look at movies from the 80s, like in those movies, you're looking at people that are not connected. They don't have that internet phone that we got. You know what I mean? It's like that life. There is everyone is disconnected. The only thing that we were connected to was TV and radio, the big networks. That's the only way we can connect. And people say that we're more connected now than ever. We are in a lot of ways, but in some ways, because we weren't individually connected and there was only one source, NBC, CBS, ABC, that actually connected everybody. And there's everyone listening to the radio, and the radio stations were creating stars, and everybody saw different strokes. You went to school and everyone saw 8:30 Friday night on NBC. Everyone knew these were special spots. That's how everyone got connected in these special 8 o'clock on Thursday cheers and shit. They were so connected, way more connected. Now, people aren't on those, like the radio doesn't have that much power. I never listen to fucking radio ever. I'm listening to like satellite radio.
I never listen to radio.
Yeah.
Never.
It's always satellite. So everyone is like more connected to their niche, but there's shit that's huge out there. Like this, I was driving down the street and I saw this billboard in downtown LA. It was King Daddy. King Daddy's a white guy. Or apparently he's Latin, but he looks like a white guy like Vanilla Ice and says King Daddy. And I thought it was like, are they filming a fucking movie, like some kind of parody movie here? That's what I thought it was. And then I looked at it, I go, this is the craziest thing. He's playing at the Staples, King Daddy. I've never heard of him. I Wikipedia him. He's fucking huge. Like, holy shit. There's people that are huge, and because we're so disconnected with everybody, we're just connected more and more with the people that are like us, and then that's it. Then we could shut everybody out. We don't have to be all together. But the old way, in that one way about NBC, CBS, and we all saw the news in 60 Minutes, we were at those periods, we were all connected. All of us, boom, we were all like one. We all knew the same shit. But now, we're all on our own planet now.
It's so true. Like, I'll go to someone's Twitter page, and they're a musician. I'm like, who is this guy? 5 million Twitter followers.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck? I never heard of this person.
You would know that guy because we would all be on those same channels. Yeah. Everybody would be on the same base. Now we get our news from different places. Like, do people still really watch the news on like Fox News? It's like
there's a lot of people that do though,
it's
man.
Crazy.
There's not just a lot of people that do. There's a lot of people that only they only follow like right-wing news sources. Yeah. So they have like a right-wing news idea. Yeah. And that's the only thing they talk about. Man. And so if they interact with something online, like, clearly you haven't been paying attention because that's been debunked. And you're like, okay, how's that been debunked? And you'll go and like read how it's been debunked. That hasn't been debunked at all.
Everything's been debunked. There's a debunk for a debunked for a debunked for a debunked. Everything like debunked. It's really simple. It's like where you get. It really is an info war, just like Alex Jones says. It really is. It isn't about this theory and then that theory and the official story. Everyone goes to science, but science that is what people need to. It's not just science; it's unbiased science. Where's the science coming from? Let's look at the science. You're just reading something off the internet. Where's that science come from? So it really is information because it's so easy to brainwash people nowadays. It's so easy. The media is under control.
Easy? I think it's way harder. I think it's way harder to get people to believe shit now than ever before. It's way harder to control.
I think they're doing a brilliant job, man.
Who's they?
Thinking? Like most people think that 9/11 wasn't an inside job. Most people believe that Tower 7 fell because of fires because the government told them. I mean, that's scary shit, man.
It is,
you know
but
what I mean?
What if 9/11 wasn't an inside job? I mean, spending all this time thinking it was. What if it was just a bunch of incompetent people, a bunch of people the amount of people that had to be involved.
Dude,
to make it a conspiracy would be pretty big, right?
Yeah,
would it be more likely that there's a bunch of fucking idiots running the government, which we've always known are true, than to have this one mastermind stroke of genius?
No, not at all. When you look at the evidence, I mean, when the 9/11
I feel like
commission,
we shouldn't have gone down this road.
When the 9/11, it's really simple. When the 9/11 commission, we had video, a bunch of different angles of Tower 7 coming down. Right. We have that video.
Tower 7 is unquestionably one of the hardest things to answer.
So you just gotta like a detective. You gotta look at it like a detective. You got okay. That building came down. So the people want to know what happened at Tower 7. How come it looks like a demo? It looks like it exploded. It must be exploded. That's the conspiracy theory. What does the government say? Nothing. It's not in the 9/11 Commission report. They deny it. They don't say anything. They don't acknowledge it. After public pressure of wanting to know if that was a controlled demo or not. We want a real investigation. Finally, in 2008, NIST finally came out. A government agency comes out, and they ask him. They go, "What?" He gives a little presentation that Tower 7 was brought down because it got too hot, and then he starts fielding questions. And they said, "Why didn't you guys test for explosives? This is what this is all about." You know what he said? The answer was, there were no witnesses that said they heard explosions. That was his answer. And there's endless video after
Someone's
video
gonna make a meme
after
of that.
video
Endless.
after video after video. Firemen, policemen, witness after witness after witness after witness. There's all on video. All in video, right when it happens, and then the bombs went off, and then before that plane, and then bombs were and then the whole lobby was just bombs, and then we turned around, we were going down the elevator, and the elevator blew up, and everyone's saying bombs. The newscasters are saying while they're there, everyone's saying bombs are going off everywhere. They took all that shit and fucking buried it. They were saying there's all this. They said NIST, it's on video. They're saying we didn't have any. They go, you didn't check for explosives? They go, no, we didn't check for explosives. There was no witnesses that said they heard explosions. And there was
You just
a
said that.
shitload.
Yeah, I get it.
I got to repeat it. You know, when you look at that, what does that tell you? What it tells you is they're fucking gangsters, man. They're fucking lying. They're gangsters. It's really simple.
It's possible they're gangsters. It's also possible that they're retarded. It's also possible that they're trying to figure out a way to explain something that they just did a really shitty job explaining in the
Man,
past.
there's so
I'm
much
not an
shit,
architect.
yeah. There's so
I'm not
much
an
shit out
architect.
there.
I'm not an engineer. I don't understand how buildings, what they need to stay up. I don't understand what can bring them down. When I look at that, though, it looks like a controlled demolition.
Yeah.
It behaves exactly the same. I've never heard of a building that falls apart like that and just breaks apart in free fall. But what do I know? I mean, I don't know. There was apparently massive fires all throughout the building because there was some diesel fuel that they had in the basement, giant diesel tanks. And if those things were on fire, and if the building was on fire in some sort of a crazy way where it weakened the whole thing, however unlikely, where it uniformly, once one part of it gave out, it just gave in.
They didn't test for explosives.
I understand that. But what would disturb me about that scenario that I just said was, why didn't someone sue for that building falling apart? Like, I would think that if that was my building and my building just caved in when it caught on fire, I'd be like, let me show you fuckheads some videos of buildings that didn't cave in because they were ablaze, just on fire. Like every fucking corner of the building is fire.
Yeah.
And this is just fire inside the building that fell apart. I would sue.
Yeah, there's
all fucked up.
There's so much. It's so deep.
So what do you think happened? What do you think happened? If you
I
believe this, if you believe that this is a conspiracy to take down Tower 7,
Well, this is. I want to say this. I always thought I knew the 9/11 conspiracy quite well. I kind of understood how it. You know, I could argue with people. I thought I was a brown belt. Oh my God! I watched this documentary that I don't even know if it's out yet. The dude who put it together, he sent it to me. It's 5 hours long. 5
you have the
hours
time
long.
for this?
I watched it twice already.
oh my God,
It's fucking, and it's all news clips, and he's narrating through it. He's got so much information about how it went fucking down. Alex Jones is like a purple belt compared to this guy. His name is Ryan Dawson, and the documentary is the Empire Unmasked. Unmasked, I kiss unmasked. The Empire Unmasked. I can't even say unmasked, but holy shit. It gets so fucking deep.
So-
It's like watching Harry, like a movie that was a book, watching the movie and then watching it 3 times and then going back and reading the book and you're like, oh my God, there's so much shit. There's such a backstory and there's all these different players and all this evidence that was, dude, there's no way
One of my
anybody could
favorite
watch
things-
that documentary and still think, and he's got all the evidence, dude. He breaks it all down, dude. It's there's so much. There's so much.
One of my favorite things about 9/11 that never gets brought up was the press conference that Donald Rumsfeld had the day before the Pentagon got hit, where he was talking about all the money that was missing. It was like trillions of dollars, right? Like trillions of dollars they couldn't account for.
Man.
And then the plane slams into the accounting department. I mean, if we are living in a movie, this is an awesome movie.
Dude.
I want to know if that is true. Find out if the plane that hit the Pentagon hit the accounting department. 'Cause
It
that's
did.
what
did.
everybody always says.
The Naval Intelligence Office, which was investigating a lot of these illegal securities. It was all, dude. It was according to this documentary, The Empire en Masse, in a nutshell.
In a nutshell.
In a nutshell,
Aliens.
Saudi Arabia. First, I want to say, I love this country. I love the United
This is
States.
Memorial Day. How dare you, Eddie Bravo?
I'm just scared of the government. That's all.
Okay.
I love the country, but we have in every government, people would agree that there's a criminal element in every government. Everybody believes that there's crooks running shit, right? So I'm not saying anything that crazy. According to this documentary, you got to go way back like 100 years. It's all tied together.
Okay.
From the banana wars in the early 1900s, it's all about drug trade between controlling Central America. First of all, before you go into any conspiracy
God.
theories, the one conspiracy theory that is that's real is the Iran-Contra conspiracy theory. That's actually real. It's out. If you look into it, what was it? George Bush Sr. got busted. Him and Oliver North. There was a few key people doing some shit that the rest of the government didn't know about. That's a conspiracy theory. They were running guns and drugs through Arkansas, and Iran and Israel were all involved. It's a big drug arms ring. That's all it is. They're all making money off it. They've been doing it since the banana wars were all about the drugs. The United States used to, with other countries, go in and fucking jack them and take their shit. Then they realize it's easier if we just control the government. We'll organize a coup and we'll put our guy in and we'll just take that shit. We don't need to fight them. So they just pulled all the military out. And they've been doing that. It's all this Nicaragua, the Iran-Contra. They got busted, but they've been doing it forever. It's like a family business when you're at the top. They got busted. That's not a conspiracy theory. They used to think it was a conspiracy theory in the 70s, and everyone said conspiracy theory. There's news reports. People are like, it's crazy. And then it comes out 10 years later, they get busted. Ronald Reagan says he didn't know shit. He doesn't recall shit. The vice president is George Sr. He's the ex-head of the CIA. He's running the whole fucking thing.
I know. I'm well aware of the story.
They
we
get
have
busted.
to be careful about people's attention spans.
No,
when it
but
comes
they
to this
get
shit.
busted. You got to explain this. It's right there in the early 80s.
Mm-hmm.
The shit that happened from JFK and beyond. But JFK is connected to Iran-Contra, which is connected to 9/11. It's all the same fucking players. It's all the same. It's a big old drug cartel going on. So all the big. It's a corporate. It's all about. The mob sells the drugs that the government brings in. They always had a mob relationship. There's always been the government running drugs, using the mob to make money for covert operations. They've always done that shit. That's the way they do it. Everything that's happening in the Middle East, that's all it is to America. Israel, they want to fuck up. They wanted to fuck up Iraq. The criminal element. But the United States are like, they need to control the poppy seeds. So it was oil, drugs, the same shit. They just needed a reason to get in there. Everybody knows that we invaded Iraq because of 9/11, but now we know that there's zero connection. That was all bullshit. We know that's a fact. That's not a conspiracy theory. There was no weapons of mass destruction. We just needed a reason to get in there. Dude, there's documents that they talk about this. These great PNAC, this group, like how are we going to take over and what is the best route to do? Talking about we need a reason to get into the Middle East and control. We need a big event. It's on fucking paper. They don't even give a shit.
You ever see the video where General Wesley Clark starts talking about invading, like what's going to be done, the timeline that's been laid out for the United States to invade all these other countries and take over? Have you ever seen that?
I heard something about that.
You never seen the video?
No. What is it?
You should watch it because it's pretty fascinating.
What's it called?
General Wesley Clark, who's
Okay.
a guy who ran for president. I think he ran for president in 2004.
Yeah.
When did he run for president? 2008, maybe? Maybe 2008.
Yeah.
Whenever it was that he ran for president. He was a just decorated general.
Mm-hmm.
And like a patriot, a war hero, a guy who was like really well respected. And I believe it was on Charlie Rose, and he laid out the government's plan like the people that are you would be fascinated by this. I'll play it for you because for people that are listening to this, are going
Sounds like Agenda 21.
Well,
maybe?
he's explaining like what he was privy to as a 4-star general or whatever he was.
Yep.
And in this video, for people who listen to this, going, "This is all crazy conspiracy talk." When you hear a guy like Wesley Clark, presidential candidate, like very decorated, very well respected general, saying these things, like listen to what he says. Got it? Listen to us.
About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who, we've made the decision we're going to war with Iraq. This was on or about, and he said, "Sir, you got to come in. You got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "September." I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take a nail." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, "Down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem." He reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs," meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran."
Come on, man. Now, this is the scariest part of it.
This
is the scariest. You want to keep it going?
Had there been no oil there, it would be like Africa. Nobody is threatening to intervene in Africa. The problem is the opposite. We keep asking for people to intervene and stop it. And there's no question that the presence of petroleum throughout the region has sparked great power involvement. Whether that was the specific motivation for the coup or not, I can't tell you, but there's always been this attitude that somehow we could intervene and use force in the region.
Boom.
Yeah, the scariest thing is you could watch something like this, and like a skeptic who doesn't believe in any conspiracy, you could watch this. They'll watch it, and something like they've been programmed, like they've been hypnotized, like no matter what, obey the official story.
Do you see that video that was just about to come up? Major Smedley Butler? Check that out. That the video that is about to come up was the letter that Major Smedley Butler wrote in like 1930 something. And he was another famous war hero who wrote a letter, like realizing when he was leaving the military that war is a racket. Major General Smedley Butler and the fascist takeover of the USA. Is it play anything?
You can roughly locate any community somewhere along a scale running all the way from democracy to despotism. This man makes it his job to study these things.
Well, for one thing, avoid the comfortable idea that the mere form of government can of itself safeguard a nation against despotism.
For big business, despotism was often a useful tool for securing foreign markets and pursuing profits. One of the U.S. Marine Corps' most highly decorated generals, Smedley Darlington Butler, by his own account, helped pacify Mexico for American oil companies, Haiti and Cuba for National City Bank, Nicaragua for the Brown Brothers Brokerage, the Dominican Republic for sugar interests, Honduras for U.S. fruit companies, and China for Standard Oil. General Butler's services were also in demand in the United States itself in the 1930s, as President Franklin Delano Roosevelt sought to relieve the misery of the Depression through public enterprise and tougher regulations on corporate exploitation and misdeeds.
More power to you, President Roosevelt. The entire country's behind you, thrilled with hope and patriotism.
But the country was not entirely behind the populist president. Large parts of the corporate elite despised what Roosevelt's New Deal stood for. And so, In 1934, a group of conspirators sought to involve General Butler in a treasonous plan.
The plan as outlined to me was to form an organization of veterans, to use as a bluff or as a club at least, to intimidate the government.
But the corporate cabal had picked the wrong man. Butler was fed up with being what he called a gangster for capitalism.
I appeared before the Congressional Committee, the highest representation of the American people, under subpoena to tell what I knew of activities which I believe might lead to an attempt to set up a fascist dictatorship. The upshot of the whole thing was that I was supposed to lead an organization of 500,000 men, which would be able to take over the functions of government.
How crazy is that?
A congressional committee ultimately found evidence of a plot to overthrow Roosevelt. According to Butler,
That's how
the
corporations
conspiracy
work,
included
man.
representatives
Big Pharma
of some
does
of
it.
America's top corporations.
They own the
including
CDC.
J.P. Morgan, DuPont, and Goodyear Tire. As today's chairman of Goodyear Tire knows, for corporations to dominate government, a coup is no longer necessary.
Corporations have gone global. And by going global, the governments have lost some control over corporations. Regardless of whether the corporation can be trusted or cannot be trusted, governments today do not have over the corporations the power that they had and the leverage that they had 50 or 60 years ago.
That's the
and
former
that's a major
CEO
change. So
of Goodyear
governments have become
right now.
powerless compared to where they were before.
Capitalism today commands the towering heights and has displaced politics and politicians as the new high priests and reigning oligarchs of our system. So capitalism and its principal protagonists and players, corporate CEOs, have been accorded unusual power and access. This is not to deny the significance of government and politicians, but these are the new high priests.
Okay. Well, that's all. That's pretty much proven what you're saying.
I mean, that when you look at that, you look at Iran-Contra, and
Or at least
people
so.
don't. This is the scariest part. Is you know how certain amount of people can be hypnotized. You know, you go to a hypnotist show.
Mm-hmm.
The guy before the show starts, he does a couple tests, and he goes, "I got that idiot, and I got that motherfucker. All you others sit down." He
Right.
knows he could figure it out.
Right.
That's not like conspiracy theory, right?
Right.
What is it? That's pretty crazy that he knows that there's a few people that he could hypnotize, and there's others that he can't.
Mm-hmm.
So then he makes them do weird shit. And is hypnotism real? Can people be hypnotized? And
Yes.
can they? Is it real that you can hypnotize someone, wake them up, they appear to be woken up, and when they hear you say a certain word, they react a certain way? Is that real, or is
I think
that
it's
fake?
real. I think
is that
with,
real?
with some people, if they get good enough at it.
Yeah,
or
I've
they-
seen
they
documentaries,
get
but maybe
somebody
they were
locked up.
hoaxes. I don't know. I don't know if they're real.
I'm pretty sure. Well, I've been hypnotized, and hypnotism is real.
Okay.
It definitely
So
is.
it is real.
It puts you. Well, it's not. Well, at least with me, what the guy was trying to do was not what I think would be done if someone was trying to get you to do something like that.
But is it possible to hypnotize someone in their own whatever way works, and tell them when you wake up, when you hear the bell, you're going to react a certain way,
Yes.
or you're going to think a certain way.
Yes.
And so that person could be totally awake at work, and then you could say something and they react a certain way. Is that real?
I'm not sure of.
It appears that.
I think that's like there's given a lot of time from the hypnosis event.
Oh no,
whether or
not at
the
work. I don't know if
state-
it works at work, but I'm not. I don't know why I said at work, but I'm just saying if it worked, who knows? Maybe it's supposed to wear off after 5 minutes or 10 minutes. When does it wear
Well, you
off?
change states. You know, like if you're in a state of anger, or a state of depression, there's like a state that you achieve when you get hypnotized. And
Okay,
even
so
though you're aware of it, you're
let's say
awake.
if it's
well, let me just
possible.
explain what it feels like. It felt like I was almost like I was on drugs. Like I went to some weird K-hole or something like that. Like it was very strange. It felt very almost not. I want to say out of body, but inner body. But I was awake. I was never asleep.
Mm-hmm.
But like if anything crazy happened, like an alarm went off, or I would have got right up. Like I would have been fine.
Mm-hmm.
But in that state, like someone can talk you into that state, and you willingly allow yourself to get into that state. That's for me in this situation. If it was a different situation and it was a more gullible person or more easily led person, and then the hypnosis professional was like more into doing that, more
Hypnotist,
into
Joe.
Hypnosis professionals, not hypnotist. Okay, if that guy was more into getting you to remember a certain noise or a certain sound, and when you heard that sound, you're going to associate with something.
Yeah, something.
I think that's possible.
Okay, so let's assume that's real, and it probably is. It might be all hoaxes, but I've seen documentaries. I don't know for sure. It's a documentary.
I don't think it is a hoax.
Yeah.
I don't
So
think
let's just
hypnotism
assume
is
it's
a
real.
hoax. Yeah.
If that's real, then you can say that a certain percent of the population it can be hypnotized, right? Yes. Just like that. Not everybody, but a certain. Like, what is that percentage? Let's just guess and say, what if it's 30% of the population has hypnotism abilities?
It
Easier.
might be everyone if you allow yourself to.
Yes.
It might be everyone.
Exactly. It might be. Let's just say 30%. Let's say 60, 40, whatever. Then if those documentaries that we're talking about is true, if it is real that you could do that, then can you trigger something? The people that can be hypnotized, like 30% of them, can you program something on TV, whether it's in the news or whatever, something? Are they doing something to handle those people and get them to only believe in what they see on TV?
You don't have to do it like that. You don't have to do it with.
Would that be possible?
Yeah, but you wouldn't do it that way. No, because you'd have to sit down with those people and actually hypnotize them. You had to get them into that state. You have to know what kind of state they're in when you're bringing these suggestions into their mind.
Now, sometimes
but
I'm watching TV
have to.
and I'm hypnotized. I'm watching Narco high as fuck.
Yeah, but that's different. I don't think the government is trying to hypnotize you through Narcos.
This is all I'm saying.
You don't believe that, do you?
What?
The government's trying to hypnotize you through Netflix?
Probably. I believe that.
I don't think Netflix is in cahoots with the government. I've had meetings with them. They seem like normal people.
But my point is, this is just my wild conspiracy theory that, an attempt to answer the question why you can show someone film like that, like what you just, film like that, and there's 5 hours of shit like that.
Okay.
The Empire Unmasked is 5 hours of shit like that.
Okay.
Ow.
What?
Just, people can see it.
Right.
They can see the build Tower 7 go boom, but they're going to believe the government.
Look, I keep saying this
You know
about
what I mean?
Tower 7.
That's
Tower
scary.
7 looks to me like an implosion. It looks to me like a demolition.
Yeah.
But I don't know shit. I don't know shit.
There's 2,000.
If there was a giant fire inside that building that caused the building to fail and it collapsed like that, and I'm talking all this crazy shit, I know they blew it up, I know they used bombs, then I'm an idiot. And so if I'm saying I know one way or the other, it's kind of crazy. You can't really say it. I don't have enough information.
But you gotta have, based on what you see, your opinion. You know
based
what I
on
mean?
what my
Of course, no one knows for sure.
That's not my opinion. My opinion is it looks like a controlled demolition.
Yeah.
Now, look, if you see a submission, okay, and you know it's a dog shit submission and the guy taps out, you go, well, that guy quit. Well, you'll know that guy quit because you'll know that that's not a good submission because you're an expert in submissions. Yeah. When I see a building collapse like that, I'll say, yeah, it looks like a controlled demolition because that's what it looks like. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean it's a controlled demolition. It could easily have been a crazy fire that caused a catastrophic failure of the structure of that building. And I don't know jack shit about structures of buildings.
Of course,
so
no one
I
is
can't
saying,
say that.
Nobody is saying that you do, and no one is saying that you, based on what you're, like a juror isn't an expert in all this forensics, you're going on what the experts say. You're not going on, the juror's not going to go, well, I don't know if he killed him. I wasn't actually there, so I don't know. There's all this evidence. The juror has, based on the evidence, you have to, it's okay to say, based on all the gangster shit that's going on. They don't say shit for 7 years. A detective would go, wait a minute.
Let's get away from that. Here's what's interesting about that building. Here's one of the things that makes this theory more fascinating, and this is a fact. They had offices inside that building of the NSA. I think it was the CIA. Find out what offices were inside Tower 7. Because it was a crazy building. It wasn't just like a regular building.
Yeah.
That building had some really nutty shit stored in it. Some crazy information in offices. Like it wasn't like, oh my God, they crushed the Prudential building. We lost all this insurance policy numbers and data. Nope, no, it wasn't that. No, it was way nuttier than that. It was like really intense foreign policy shit, intense financial shit. It was like there's some crazy offices inside there. What do you got there, Jamie?
Yeah.
Here we go. Like look at what was in Building 7. This is fucking fascinating.
Can you imagine?
Salman Smith and Barney, okay? which is a financial company, Internal Revenue Service, Regional Counsel, U.S. Secret Service, American Express Bank International, Standard Chartered Bank, Provident Financial Market Management, Hartford Insurance Group, First State Management Group, Federal Loan Bank, a lot of banks. But here goes NAIC Securities, Securities and Exchange Commission. That's when it gets really crazy.
Yeah.
Security and Exchange Commission is like, that's the fucking, that's the mother lode of money right there. New York City Office of Emergency Management.
Yeah, what would a decent detective think based on all this? Would he go, no, they couldn't do it?
You would look at that and you'd go, wow, it's convenient that that building collapsed, because it seems like there's a lot of fucking tenants in there that probably had a lot of crazy information. The Secret Service, the Security Exchange Commission, and the Office of Emergency Management. That's a lot of and then all those banks.
It's just high-level gangster
really
shit.
Important shit.
High-level gangster shit.
Who knows? I thought it was the CIA. I thought the CIA was in there as well.
Small office of the CIA.
Is that what it was? Eddie Bravo, is a conspiracy theorist. He knows.
I'm just a blue belt compared to Rye Dawson.
Well,
that
there's
guy
a lot of
breaks it
people
all
that have spent their whole life looking at that. If it is what we said, or what I said rather, a catastrophic failure of a structure based on
that's
poor
horseshit.
ability.
You know that's horseshit.
If that is what a convenient building to collapse. Like, it seems like those offices would have a lot of really crazy shit in them.
And if a decent detective found out that, it looks like over 2,000 architects risking their license, risking their credibility is going to go against the government.
Right.
But 2,000, when you listen to them talk.
Engineers for Truth, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, they have the balls to do it. Everyone else is like, they don't want, most people don't want any trouble. That's
what I want to know is how many architects disagree with them and who's the better architect.
Where's the video? Show me.
But that's what I don't know.
They don't have the balls because it's obvious. We're talking about obvious shit. I know you have to stay on the fence. I know this.
No, dude, it's not. I have to. I stay on the fence because this is how I try to think.
Yeah,
I try to.
You got to look at the evidence. You got to look at the evidence.
I'm looking at it.
It takes them 7 years to come out with a report, and then they don't test for explosives.
Okay. I thought that when we were looking at that report, I thought we were going to see the CIA in there. It's less impressive with what we did have in there. I don't know if
maybe that's not everything.
It might very well could be. I don't know if they would rig a building like that with explosives when they were building it, in the possibility that something went wrong and they had to destroy evidence.
No.
But that
no
could be possible.
No one has even said that, and you can't even bring that up because that has never been brought up.
But wait a minute, that's what happened. If the building exploded, okay, if you do believe that the building was a controlled demolition, then someone rigged it. So the idea is, if they knew that these people were going to be in this building, they knew this building was going to be a high security building, they could have rigged it with explosives when they were constructing it to make sure that in the event the building was taken over.
But
why do you say that didn't happen? Because when did it get detonated? When did it get fitted?
Something.
But when did it get fitted with those explosives? Which takes weeks.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is it's not my idea either. There's many people that are speculating that when the building was actually constructed, they constructed it with this possibility.
No.
They made it. Why do you say no?
No.
Why do you say no?
When you look at the whole story, I'm only bringing up Tower 7, but there's a million pieces to the story. When you put all the pieces together, you're like, that's just one part of the
building. Why are you convinced that that's how the building got brought down? What does this say? The Department of Defense Central Intelligence Agency. Okay, yeah, they shared the 25th floor with the IRS. Okay, yeah, that's it.
You want me to explain?
Hold on. We're just reading the facts. So the Department of Defense and the Central Intelligence Agency were there on the 25th floor with the IRS. Floors 46 through 47 were mechanical floors, as were the bottom floors and part of the 7th floor. Okay.
And that could all be bullshit. Who knows? That could just be someone just fucking around.
That's Wikipedia, bro. That is locked.
You don't know. Where did that come from?
That is locked down and tight. But why would you think that it's impossible for them to rig the building with explosives when they constructed it?
It's impossible because they didn't say anything for 7 years. After public pressure, they were forced to put a scientist out there in front of these reporters to finally give a reason, and they said it was because of fires. They didn't.
I understand.
They asked, why didn't you check for explosives?
You just
this is what it was all about.
This 3 times
but
already.
you asked the question again.
I get it. But that doesn't mean it's impossible.
I'm just looking at the evidence.
But that's not even the evidence. It doesn't mean that it's impossible. If it was a controlled demolition, let's get crazy.
An alien could have blew it up, and that's not impossible.
But let's look at it and say it's a controlled demolition. Let's say it looks like a controlled demolition. Let's assume it is. How did the bombs get into the building? How did they put them in? Why is it impossible?
Are you asking me a question?
But why is it impossible that they put those bombs in it when they were building it? In the case, or when the Secret Service took over, or when whoever was made the tenant, maybe they installed the bombs to make sure in an event that something happened. Like in 96, I believe it was 96, the World Trade Center towers, they blew them up in the basement, remember? They had a car bomb that went off in the basement. They thought they were going to take the tower down. If these people thought that put this building in place, or that took over this building, the CIA, the NSA, whoever the fuck it was, if they knew that they had some really important, secure information there, it's very possible they could have said, okay, in the event that someone does blow up the World Trade Center, like in 96, because it's already happened before, and a catastrophic failure, we can demolish this building.
Hey, if you want to lean towards that theory, that's fine too. I'm not trying to change
I'm not leaning towards
mind.
anything, but why are you saying that that's impossible?
Anything's possible. I wasn't there, you weren't there, but we're going based on what we know. Jurors, like if this was a jury, not like finding. We're not looking for God's truth.
Right.
We're looking like a jury, like a detective. How would they handle the truth? You know what I mean? If everybody was legit, you got to look at it like that.
What do you think happened? If you think it was a controlled demolition, how do you think the bombs got in the building?
It's so deep. It's so deep and so long. Like I said, you put all that 9/11 information. Forget about the Pentagon. This 5-hour documentary has nothing to do with the Pentagon. That's like so much info, just like that video you showed. 5 hours of that crushing evidence. When you look at that as a Jew or as a detective, you're like, of course it was an inside job. In that documentary, they lay out the countries that have always done shit like this. They've always done it. They got busted in Iran-Contra.
Okay, but let's not get off course here. I still want to find out your thinking on the Building 7, because you're convinced that Building 7 was a demolition, right?
As a juror, it's a demolition based on all the testimony.
How do you think they set it up for demolition?
Well, there's evidence. If you're watching this documentary, there's so much information, but there's evidence of them constantly doing work and fake ass workers working on the elevator shafts. There's all this evidence of that. It's so deep. I don't want to. I don't remember the names of the guys.
So you
or
think
all
like these people that were working there, they just set that building up to blow up?
Yeah, they took time and they just had fake. It's a fact that the elevator was always broken and there was always people. Like the month before, there's all these fake passes and there's a lot of evidence. It's 5 hours. You're gonna go shit. There's reports. There's all the
Bravo.
Yeah. But you know what? I'm so obsessed with those details. I don't know why, but. We're living in a world post 9/11 we're living in a crazy world where people are fucking dying in the Middle East and getting blown up and getting murdered and kids and stuff like that. That's going on. I just can't. I need to find out why they're doing, like, what's going on. I'm obsessed with, how is this racket, how do they operate? I want to know the truth. And when you know the truth, it's just like, fuck, you just want to tell as many people as possible. Look, George Bush Sr. gets busted on national TV with the Iran-Contra situation. He becomes president after that. And then he's running all his shit and all his drugs in his arms through Arkansas with an unknown governor, Bill Clinton, who's letting it happen. And then he becomes president after George Bush. As a detective, I don't know the truth. I wasn't there. I don't know what the relationship is like. It looks like I'm like that's some gangster shit going on right there, and they're just playing with the public and all the dumb motherfuckers who believe that there's this Republican Democrat battle going on. It's fascinating and frustrating at the same time, and very scary that, man, we're living with people that just follow the official story, and whatever they say, that's the truth. And all the other shit that's not the official story, that's crazy.
Well, there's a lot of people that do really love to buy the official story, and they love to argue it. They love to argue the official story about everything.
Yeah, the scary thing is the people, when you ask anybody, they'll say, yeah, the government's fucked fucked up. Yeah, the government. You can't trust the government. Everybody would say that. Everyone. No one's ever said you could totally trust the government. I trust the government. No one ever says that ever. Everyone says I fuck the government, bunch of crooks. But when they get busted and there's all this evidence and all this shit going down and it's so crystal clear, can you imagine if the video of Tower 7 was not available until 10 years later? No, that would be the craziest fucking a conspiracy theory that nobody would get behind. Nobody would waste their time. That building goes down. There's no video of it. There's going to be people that were there who go, dude, it's a crazy view. Some Tower 7 just fell down like it was controlled demo. People go, you crazy motherfucker. Where's the video? Where's the video? Where's the video? That's all they would say.
That's what happened with the Kennedy assassination.
Exactly. That was 10 years later. So can you imagine if there was no video? Because of all the angles that came out right away, we had all that footage. It's almost like that was good for the people that were behind this. Like, it was beautiful because you could see that on YouTube and has millions of views, but people will go, well, the government said it was fires, so I believe it's fires. You know, and you're watching it go down, bunch of different angles, but I'm going to go with the government on this one, government, for 200. You know, that's scary. That kind of mentality is what I'm scared of.
I'm scared of conspiracy theories. That's what I'm scared of.
Enough of that shit.
Light this fucking joint back on.
You know?
Conspiracy theories killing my brain. I gotta go to Australia, bro. I can't handle it.
Yeah. Crazy shit, man. Maybe I should just say, shut the fuck up about it and just close my fucking eyes, just look straight. Sometimes I think about that. You know, is that better?
I wonder how long, if there really is some crazy global cabal going on that's ripping off the world, how much longer can they keep going with this in these days of Edward Snowden?
You know what? There's hope.
Type information leaks.
When you find out exactly how the racket works, the global racket works, when you look into it with an open mind, and I mean,
we just went right back into it. I thought we were going to get out of it.
I don't even know what I was going to say now. You interrupted me. What were we even talking about?
Global cabal. Look how it works. If you look at how it works.
Man, I totally forgot. Global cabal. Well, let's figure this out. Global cabal. What else?
I'm going to go with Tower 7, chemtrail, black helicopter, CIA, George Bush, Barry Mina, Arkansas,
I remember now. I remember.
Barry Seals.
When you look at it, how it all goes down, and bit by bit, how it all goes down, it's like fucking nuts. It's nuts. And I think there's no way we could ever regain control of the media, because that's where all the power is. It all comes down to the media. Who controls that shit? And do we ever have control? We got to go to alternative media for the truth. But then no one believes that. Everyone believes the shit that the government gives us, the PR fucking propaganda machine from the Pentagon. Everyone believes that. They don't believe the alternative media because, oh, you know what? It looks like it was low budget because look at the kind of film and the lighting they use. I don't believe that. That looks like they're in their garage. I want to believe this shit on Fox. That's how people think. They might not say that, but that's what's going on because that's what people believe. Most of people think.
But as the news does a shittier and shittier job of covering events in detail, I think people are leaning more and more towards alternative sources.
Yes.
It's like The Guardian, when they released all those Ed Snowden documents, they weren't the only ones who were offered that.
Yeah.
It's just they got lucky. They found a guy in Glenn Greenwald that wanted to put his balls out there and do it. And
then they go after whistleblowers, man.
Oh, fuck
you know,
yeah, they do.
John Stockwell is a former CIA agent, wrote a couple books. CIA took control of the royalties of his books because you can't be talking about this stuff. So he's not making money off the books. The CIA is. They just took control of his shit. So John Stockwell,
yeah.
He was a CIA agent for 13 years. Most of the people in the CIA, they come in to fight communism. They're trying to help the world. They're trying to help the United States. It's the criminal element. There's a few key players, the guys with all the power at the top, the craziest guys at the top. And a lot of guys in the CIA have no idea. They don't tell everybody.
I think it's like what you were saying earlier, that we were talking about how in the 1980s and whatever, before the internet, there was only a few different programs, so everybody was on these channels. But I think in this day and age, there's so much information out there. There's so much stuff to listen to and so much stuff to watch, so much stuff to pay attention to. It's just overwhelming that when something happens, even if it's a big deal, it's gone in a couple days. There's some new shit coming down the pipe. University of Missouri, they're having a fucking hunger strike.
Yep.
Oh, that lady, she pushed that kid and she called for muscle. Like, there's a new thing every goddamn day. You know, a few days ago, the Pentagon got busted with a gas station that cost $43 million to build. And everyone is like, why is a gas station that part of the world? It's normally between $200,000 and $500,000 to build a gas station. $43 million. And they're like, it just is. It's fucking expensive.
I mean, the latest word out there,
Right.
Donald Rumsfeld the day before 9/11 said, we have $2.3 trillion missing. That's ridiculous, right? He just says, we don't know where it's at, but it's gone. So they had to make a fucking Pentagon briefing. They had to tell the world, listen, we lost $2.3 trillion.
September 10th.
Yeah, that was September 10th, and the next day, that office in the Pentagon that's looking into it blows up. But anyways, as a juror, I'm like, gangsters, gangster shit's going on right here, dude. I don't have to. I'm not fucking. I'm a grown ass man. I know how gangsters they are. I'm like, dude. It's obvious, right? So, but the hope, you think there's no hope because they control the media. They got it. But what shows me hope is what's happening with hemp and marijuana. The resurgence, taking a Schedule I drug, and making it legal,
In several states now,
Yes.
including Washington, D.C.,
and
which is crazy.
It's more and more and more. It's becoming legal.
Yeah.
So that shows that the federal government doesn't, they still Schedule It I. They didn't want this. But that shows that the people actually, ultimately, if the people all can get together, they do have all the power. The people do have the power because we still remember that from the Constitution. That's one thing we remember. I don't remember the fucking amendments and all that, but I know we have the power and you guys are supposed to be working for us. Right now it's not like that and it's fucked up, but we know we're supposed to have the power. And when we learn that and we learn how powerful we are, we took a Schedule I drug that was demonized, that was persecuted. It wasn't just left by itself. They went after the psyche of the nation on globally, really, not just nationally. That was real. That's not a conspiracy theory. The reefer madness propaganda, that's some evil shit. So when people tell me, oh, do you know there's parts of the government that do this? I don't need fucking evidence. You could tell me anything. I'm like, it's probably true. And if it's not true, who gives a fuck anyways? But I believe it. You're talking about criminals. Is it criminal activity? And does it seem like, oh, you can make money that way, whatever you're telling me? I see where the money comes from. If I don't see where the money comes from, I go, maybe it's bullshit. But if you could see how they can make money, I'm like, they probably do it. Because if you just thought of it, they probably thought of it too. They're running everything. So, but there's hope. There's hope. I'm like, shit, the people do have the fucking power. Fuck.
Well,
we can make a
someone's
difference.
in a position, they're in a position where they can lock people up, and they can intimidate people with the threat of locking people up.
Yeah.
Even for something as silly as marijuana, I mean, people will say, well, that's, it's not even an important point. It's not like, remember when Obama said there was some sort of a write-in on the internet, like which should they talk about? And I forget what speech he was giving, what town hall. What was the number one question? And he's like, the number one question was legalization of marijuana. And he was like, well, I don't know what that says about the people that are calling in. Ho, ho, ho. He jokes around about it like it's not a serious topic. But of course it's a serious topic because marijuana by itself, whether you like pot or don't like pot, it's not about that. It's about freedom. And it's a serious topic when you have a subject like marijuana, which all these people enjoy, and there's no reason why it should be illegal, and yet it's still illegal. That's not freedom. See, if marijuana made people's fucking brains melt and made your dick fall off and, made people just start running out into traffic, there would be a reason why someone would say, hey, we got to spend a lot of money to stop this because it's going to destroy our youth, ruin our children, and just devastate our society. Since that evidence doesn't exist, it doesn't make any sense. So if someone is still arresting people when there's no evidence that they should be, that's when shit gets scary. That's scary. That's a freedom issue because they're letting you know they could just lock you in a cage. We have a difference of opinion. I'm not even willing to look at scientific evidence. I don't care about scientific evidence. I care about what's written on this piece of paper. And this piece of paper says if you have a certain amount of these plants, I can put you in a cage and I can make money off of you being in that fucking cage. That is a freedom issue. It has nothing to do with marijuana itself. Now, you and I are obviously marijuana advocates, and we're marijuana enthusiasts, and we're known for having beliefs that marijuana is not just a fun thing, but it's a very important thing for creativity. It's like a turbocharger for creativity.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't get recognized for what it is because it's been demonized. So it's not about whether or not you should start doing it or other people should start having our opinions and changing your mind on it. It's about recognizing why we have these opinions in the first place, because they're not based on fact at all. These are 1930s propaganda ideas that were, at the time, fucking tsunamis, right? Tsunamis of information back when there were so few portals. They put a movie like Reefer Madness out.
Can you imagine
William Randolph Hearst is the guy running the newspapers. He's got all these stories he's printing about Mexicans and black people raping white people. When those were the only fucking voices on the horizon, people freaked out about any kind of information like that. That was all that was available. It wasn't like that, and then you go online and Mike Tyson fucked a tiger? What? You know, or Dan Bilzerian lost $100 million playing poker? You know?
Why do you suppose they went after marijuana in a demonic way?
Well, I think it was gone after in a very calculated way by a guy who went after a lot of things like that. William Randolph Hearst stand to profit from marijuana being illegal, remaining illegal. In fact, they named it marijuana. For people who don't even know, the name marijuana referred to a wild Mexican tobacco. And it had nothing to do with cannabis. Cannabis was hemp, and everybody knew that, and they knew that as a textile and as a commodity, it was extremely valuable for the American people. For people who don't know, there was actually a documentary that Jack Herer found, and it was a big deal that he found it because he had known about this and people denied its existence, and then he found this documentary, Hemp for Victory, and it was made during World War II after hemp was essentially made illegal, but they wanted hemp to use for sails. They used for canvas is all made with hemp. All the great paintings like the Mona Lisa, that shit is painted on canvas, which comes from cannabis. I mean, it is a commonly used plant throughout human history. Thousands of years of use, all like intercepted by a propaganda campaign. This propaganda campaign by one guy and a bunch of other people that conspired with it as well, where there was two factions of it. One guy wanted to
What did he do? Put out
profit.
movies? Like William Randolph Hearst put out movies?
He paid for that, but he also owned Hearst Publications. He owned the newspapers. So he printed these wild stories of white women getting raped.
By people smoking marijuana.
Well, he owned hundreds of, he owned not just newspaper, but he owned hundreds of thousands of acres of trees. And he used those trees and made paper out of them. He owned paper mills. If hemp became the new billion-dollar crop, as it was predicted on the cover of Popular Science magazine, if that happened, William Randolph Hearst he would have been fucked. He would have had to spend millions of dollars converting his newspapers to hemp paper. So he was like, fuck it. I'll just write evil shit about marijuana. I'll just call it marijuana. So it wasn't even about going after the drug. It was about going after what the fibers of the plant do.
That's a conspiracy theory right there.
It is.
And can you imagine, because
provable.
that was all during the 30s and 40s, can you imagine that there had to be some people that were thought of as some tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorists that are saying that weed is actually doesn't make you do all these crazy things that they're putting in the movies and with all this reefer madness propaganda. Those people must have been, they looked so goddamn crazy back then.
Well, even today, people try to debunk this. People have said that to me, and they sent me to a website. Dude, that's been debunked. Sorry.
What was debunked?
That William Randolph Hearst had set up marijuana and worked with what was the guy's name?
Harry
Anslinger. Harry Anslinger. But it hasn't been debunked. Not only has it not been debunked, William Randolph Hearst was a notable cunt. Like everybody knew he was a cunt. Orson Welles made a movie about what a cunt he was.
Who's protecting fucking William Randolph Hearst?
Well,
Come on.
it's the same mentality. It's the same mentality we were talking about before.
It's the same people. They believe 100% of the official stories.
Exactly.
It's those people, 100%.
Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone.
100%. I'm 100% for 100%.
The Lee Harvey Oswald one.
Whatever they
so
say,
strange.
I'm going with it.
Yeah.
They would never lie.
Well, people, it's hard because some people automatically gravitate towards conspiracies. Some people automatically gravitate towards
when they're criminals,
towards the official story.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of times the reality is somewhere in the middle, and it's hard to find the reality.
Depending on the conspiracy theory, you can't just say that about it.
That's true.
9/11, there's so much shit, and like I said, people think however crazy they think it is. Iran-Contra was just as crazy. Everyone thought they were crazy.
It's real.
And they got busted.
The William Randolph Hearst thing, here's why it really can't be totally debunked. First of all, we don't really know. We weren't there. So it's very difficult to prove, and it's very difficult to disprove. But one thing we do know, he definitely did print stories about this drug that everyone was terrified of.
Yeah,
he definitely did contribute to the making of Reefer Madness. I'm almost positive of that.
Do you have proof that he okayed that story?
Did you find out if William Randolph Hearst had anything to do with the funding of the movie Reefer Madness?
We need a memo where he okays that story. Yeah. You know what I mean? Where he signed off on it.
But here's the other aspect of it that we didn't talk about. The timing of this is right after Prohibition ended. So Prohibition was a boon to law enforcement. They were constantly working. They were arresting people, locking people up, and then on top of that, organized crime emerges in a huge way. I mean, that's where Al Capone got all his money. That's where the Kennedys got their fucking money. Also, it's all from running booze, man. So there's all these people that are illegally running booze, and they're making crazy money, and they wind up in positions of power, and even wind up having their fucking children become president.
Yep.
That's the real story of the United States, is that Kennedy's fucking parents were drug runners.
Yep.
Their drug was just a liquid drug. It's just the same as running coke, just the same as growing weed right now today.
They're all criminals.
It's all...
And JFK and his brother, Robert, something turned them, and they decided they're going to try to save the world.
Maybe.
That's something turned them. They thought they could trust him because one thing's for sure, he was an extreme. He was like Bill Clinton when it came to girls.
Yeah.
They thought they had him in the bag. They thought he wouldn't. He'd totally just stay in line. And they had to get rid of him. Everybody.
So that's interesting. So they probably like have a guy like that. They get him in the office and go, listen, dude, we know you're a freak.
Just shut the fuck up. Just fuck as many as you want.
Yeah, we'll keep you protected, or shit's gonna get ugly.
Sign a couple bills.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Sign a little trade agreement,
what's
whatever.
the big deal? We're gonna
just
invade
don't mess
the
with this
Congo.
side.
Yeah.
Just you could do a little trade agreement with Mexico and all that, but
it's very. Who knows? It's very intriguing when you start looking at possibilities like that.
Because it comes from a criminal family, so it's very obvious. They're all gangsters. They turn. They try to change the world.
Yeah. So
and then they had to get rid of them. It's just like
So you got
gangster 101.
Yeah. So and then you got the gangsters who are the police officers who are arresting people for booze. Okay, because let's be honest, it's not the cops that are the gangsters, but the people that are telling the cops where to go for sure are gangsters. Why are they Why is it out in the first place? Like who the fuck? Who says you can't have whiskey? What kind of bitches are we? We're supposed to be America. Someone's going to come along and say you can't have a drink? How about fuck you? That doesn't make any sense. You can't drink? So I'm supposed to just live my life by your fucking wacky rules? I like drinking. Drinking is fun.
It's so much fun. It should be illegal. It should be. I'd be all for making it illegal. It'd be cool to drink it like back in the 20s or 30s, whenever that was. Like
no, we'd have organized crime would be even bigger, man. That shit becomes dangerous. Look, I mean, Jack
Dude,
Daniels.
sell beers on the corner.
Here's a perfect example. Jack Daniels has been around forever, right? They sell whiskey, super popular everywhere. I drink Jack Daniels on a regular basis, right? That company's not evil. They're not killing anybody. Jack Daniels isn't fucking gunning people down the street. Jack Daniels isn't taking over new territories. Jack Daniels isn't fucking burrowing holes underneath prisons and digging people out.
The corporation
but Al
that
Capone
owns
would.
Yeah, but the corporation that owns Jack Daniels probably is.
I don't know if the corporation is even Jack Daniels itself. It might just be Jack Daniels Distillery.
No,
I don't know.
I
who the
think
fuck
someone
owns
took that shit over. Come on.
Who cares? Who cares? My point is that Jack Daniels isn't an evil company. They can make money. If you can make money doing shit like that, then there's less of a criminal element to it. It's a safe company.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of bad shit that gets done by people who are drunk on Jack Daniels, for sure. But Jack Daniels, the company, is not like Al Capone. That's my point. It's like when you let companies sell things legally, you get the tax benefit from it, and the companies aren't filled with criminals. Because the only people that are willing to run heroin are going to be crazy fuckers like that guy from Breaking Bad. Yeah. That's going to be the people that are going to be running heroin. They're going to be out of their fucking mind. Those are the people that you're going to get. But if it was legal, you're going to get Bill Gates. You know? I mean, if it's legal, fucking how many rock stars have their own whiskey or tequila or some shit like that? There's a bunch of those guys. So rappers, they always have their own tequila or something. Yeah. Like everybody's got their own shit. Like it's okay. They're legal drug dealers. But as long as you're making money legally, paying taxes, the whole thing, it's above board. No one cares. It's like it's proof positive that drugs should be legal. Because alcohol is one of the fucking worst. One of the worst for your body. Worse than cocaine. Most likely worse than heroin.
The traffic accidents.
Are there
cars? Are there cars out there that won't turn on if the driver's drunk?
My friend had one.
Wow.
My friend in Colorado had one. He got he's a buddy of mine from New York, moved to Colorado.
What kind of car is that?
Well, he had it use it for work. He got a DOI. The car's not unique. It's a setup on the ignition. They have a thing built into the ignition. The ignition will not start unless he blows. He has to blow a blood alcohol content. Then he has to wait a few minutes, and it won't fire up for him if he's drunk.
That's brilliant.
Yeah,
that should be mandatory.
It's a good idea.
Yeah,
but it's not convenient. At least his wasn't. His says it takes a few minutes. And I'm like, dude, that's got to suck in the snow because it's Colorado. I mean, he lives in Denver.
Those drunk driving schools, they don't want that to pass. They're trying to stop. They're lobbying against it. They're holding it back. They probably would have had them a long time ago, but the drunk driving topless schools, they all got together.
Well, what's going to save that is these fucking Google cars. These, like the Tesla that can drive itself. That's going to save all that shit.
How does that work?
They work on sensors. They already work on sensors. Like it's fairly common now that your car will know when you're going across lines now. Have you ever noticed that? Like there's a lot of cars. Like I had an Infinity. It did it.
They sort of drive
annoying.
themselves?
No, but it lets you know if you're crossing a line. It gives you like a
yeah.
Cadillac has one. It's weird, man. Have you seen those new Cadillac Escalades? Dude, those things are dope. I rent one of those everywhere I go. I love those things. First of all, I love them because I'm an old Italian man.
How much they cost?
It's a fucking Cadillac. They're probably in the high 60s, maybe in the 70s of $1,000. They're not cheap, but they're not cheaply made either. They're fucking badass. I rent them all the time. I love them. They're so smooth too, dude. They have this like magnetic ride control suspension, so like it just floats over everything. You get this great view of everything. Every time I'm in one, I'm like, why don't I drive one of these every day? But they have this thing in the seat where if you get close to the edge, it vibrates on your thigh, like zip, 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 on your left thigh. So like if you're getting close to the edge of the lines, like where the lines are, it lets you know, hey, bitch, get over here. It's really weird. It's real weird. If you're backing up, like you give you like a little vibrate if you get too close to things. So it's not just looking. You're not just seeing it in a camera or hearing it in beeps that like get close. You know how they have those, and some BMWs, they have that beep, 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 beep. Like the closer you get to the thing, it lets you, hey, bitch, you're going to hit this fucking thing.
Yeah.
Not only does the Cadillac do that, but it vibrates your seat. It lets you know like where it is. Like if you're about to hit something on the right-hand side, your right thigh will start vibrating. It's really weird. It's fucking trippy. I don't remember what my point was.
We're talking about cars.
Oh, so that's how they use some sort of cameras to see those lanes. So they know when you're out of lanes. Because even if the road curves, they know. They know if you keep going straight and the road curves, bitch, what the fuck are you doing? And they also have this thing called, you know how you have cruise control, like regular cruise control? This is a laser distance detecting cruise control. So like say if your car, this is pretty common now too. If your car is ahead of mine and I set my cruise control for 65 miles an hour, if you slow down, my car slows down too. If you speed up, my car speeds up. I don't have to touch shit. You just put your hands on the steering wheel. It slows down for you. It speeds up for you.
You know, anybody who buys a car like that is going to sign a fucking stack of waivers like a notebook. You know what I mean? Right? Come on. Can you imagine the fucking accidents? Holy shit.
Well, this is what they're saying. They're saying the Google cars have only had a couple accidents. And they've been running them through San Francisco for a while.
Damn.
But I wonder how much the Google car accidents have been Google's fault.
It's so hard to drive. Jesus Christ. It's so hard, man. I want my arms down. You still got to sit down. It's so comfortable.
But do you really not like driving?
I would rather have a driver, but I don't trust a car. It's too unpredictable. You got to make some razor sharp decisions on the highway. Right? There's a lot of it doesn't have every situation programmed in the car. There's all these weird, awkward situations where you're just driving and you could have avoided it if you would have had control.
But are those weird, awkward situations occurring because people are retarded? Like if everybody had a car that drove itself, maybe those would just vanish. And maybe you would get like a green light when you get on the road.
How much you smoke, man?
A lot. But maybe. Think about it. Because like when you watch, like I watched this girl texting the other day on her phone, and it was so frustrating. Because we were on the highway. We were going like 65 miles an hour, and a couple of times she came close to my lane. And whenever someone does that, I go, oh, I guarantee you they're fucking with their phone. And I look over, and this girl's doing this shit.
Everybody does that shit, man.
No, I don't do that. I don't do that.
No.
I don't do that. I leave my fucking phone on the passenger seat. I take it, I put it over there. I'm not fucking with that thing.
But you'll talk and drive, though.
I'll talk and drive on my phone. I press a button on the steering wheel.
Yeah.
That's not bad, like, because it's going through the Bluetooth. You can have a little conversation. It's like you can see everything. It's like having a conversation with a dude who's sitting next to you. It's totally normal.
Is it legal to, because it's illegal to text or to do anything on your phone. That's illegal, right?
Yes.
Is it illegal to go through your CDs or go through your stations on your satellite?
No.
You can't do this, but you can do this.
You can press the the thing on your car that's stationary. It's like locked in. But if you have something in your hand, you start pressing that to make your music come on, which all my music is on my iPhone. I carry everything on my iPhone. I carry all my music. I never have I used to have an iPod connector in my car.
No one does that.
I never. I still have it in my my BMW. It still has a little iPod connector. I still have iPods. Why though? My fucking phone has 100 and something gigs. Like, there's no way I need all that.
Yeah.
Like, you'd have to have how could you listen to all that, you greedy bitch? You have to be a crazy person.
Yeah. I think people are now, since we went to, it seems like we're more and more just using our laptops less and our phones way more, right?
Yeah. Oh,
it
way
seems
more.
like that, right?
Way
so
more.
I think that's great for music.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Because listening to music on your computer is not as cool as being out and about on your phone, with headsets, and you could be you could go in on the airport, music.
Well, you can send me. You've sent me songs.
Yeah.
And I listened to them right when you sent me them.
Yeah.
Like, literally, there's no delay at all.
Yeah.
Like,
How
you
crazy is
sent me
that?
some of your shit, and I press play, and I'm listening to it in my car.
And then you threw up.
seconds. No, it was good, dude. But in seconds, like, I mean, you could ask Siri. Now, I'm going to stop this because people are getting mad at me for saying this because it makes your phone go off. All right. If you say HEYSIRI and you say those things together, you can ask it things. Like, it'll transcribe things for you. It transcribes for me accidentally. Just like I look down, the phone is like taking every word that I said accidentally because I said those words during a podcast or something that sounded enough like it. But when you have that, when you do something like that, you could tell it, hey, download me Smoke Serpent. Hey, go to Eddie Bravo Radio number 3. And it'll fucking find it on the internet and play it for you. Dude, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about before we started the podcast, was my music conspiracy theory.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, okay. What's your music conspiracy theory? Does it involve Donald Rumsfeld?
This is just me smoking a lot of weed and saying stupid shit. But it seems that the record companies in the record business have always ripped off the artists. The artists never make that. All of them. When you look at documentaries, every band, the same thing. They're getting ripped off. If you watch that Eagles documentary, it's amazing. I'm not an Eagles fan. I'll never buy an Eagles CD, but I respect the shit out of them.
How dare you?
I respect the shit out of them.
on the ceiling.
I respect the shit out of them, and they do got some good stuff, but I'm just not that kind of southern rock thing.
We're all just prisoners here of our own device.
Yeah, I love the story, the documentary, the story of how they got together and their dynamics and when they broke up and got back together and shit. Dude, the Eagles story is amazing.
You don't like Hotel California?
It's all right.
God
it's not
damn, dude.
Too many strippers dance to it. But the story, and then you watch like 30 Seconds to Mars documentary, and like the record company is suing them for like $30 million.
Yeah, explain that, because
crazy.
that's Jared Leto, right?
Yeah,
That's the actor. He also has a band, and his band had a deal with a record company, and it all fucking went.
They just didn't get paid, basically. They just never got paid. They were huge. They got a couple really good songs. Echelon is one of my all-time favorite songs. But anyways, you watch that documentary, and it's always the same thing. The record company doesn't have the money. They're not going to pay. We had to pay all this shit for you. We bought your fucking video. We paid for your goddamn producer. You got to pay that shit back, and you better fucking get on the road, motherfucker. You owe us money. You owe us money.
This is the movie Artifact. Artifact, sometimes we must fight in order to be free. Okay, I got something to watch on the plane.
I think it's on Netflix.
Is that 30
right now.
minutes, Seconds to Mars? Yeah, that's the one. It's
Is
really
it on
good.
iTunes?
Yeah, I definitely was on iTunes and everything to buy for about a year. But
You got to give it up to Jared Leto, because he's the only guy on the planet that's a legitimate musician rock star, legitimate, where he has millions of fans. They sold millions of records, and he's a very successful actor too. You could almost say maybe he's reaching that A-list. Jared Leto is a famous dude. Nobody else has done that. Music and acting that huge, you got to give it up. And they got a couple really good songs. I'm not a gigantic 30 Seconds to Mars fan, but Echelon and The Mission, absolutely fantastic songs.
So they got a record deal and just were not getting any money.
Yeah, I forget the details, but
then they went to court over it.
So they weren't getting any. No, what happened is they weren't getting any money, and Jared Leto said, "I'm fucking out, this motherfucker. You guys owe us so much shit." He wasn't gonna say shit, so he just said, "I'm gonna make an album on my own. Fuck this."
Right.
We're selling millions of records. We don't have anything.
Right.
And they're not giving us. They're not paying us.
Right.
So the record company goes, oh, you think you could just do that? Like the contract was over like in 6 months. Really, they could have just waited it out, but he just started working on a new album. Said, fuck that. Record company goes, oh, you're working on an album? That's our album. You know what I mean? Something like that. Something like that where they ended up suing them. You think you could just walk away from us? How about we're going to come after you and for $30 million?
Dude, I have a friend who works, she's a receptionist. She was a receptionist. She got fired. She's working for some company that makes TV shows or some shit. And they knew that she was a comedian. You know, she's an amateur comedian. And so while she was working with them, she developed this idea for some pilot with her and her friend, who was also a comedian. So then all of a sudden, the company she's working for wanted her to sign some intellectual property agreement that anything she came up with when she was working there would be theirs.
Yeah.
And they literally said to her, while you work here, we own your brain.
Yeah.
Could you just imagine how crazy that is? Like she's a fucking receptionist, comedian, a funny comedian too. Yeah. And she's trying to make it. You know, she's out there hustling. And the company that she works for that doesn't they make TV shows. Yeah. You know, they're not using her in that regard. Yeah. They're using her as a receptionist. They just decide that somehow or another they're going to figure out a way to steal from her. They're going to tap into her creativity and
we
make some
own
money
your
off
ideas.
of it. But imagine that you're paying someone like dog shit money.
Yeah.
You're paying someone like receptionist pay, and you want to own their dream, their dream of a show. That's fucking dirty. That's dirty and scary.
Every band goes through the same shit. It's like the record company is owned by gangsters themselves, and they're gonna. And when you sign a contract, you don't give a fuck. You're just this kid from the small town. Your band got big. You're in Hollywood now. You're gonna sign the goddamn deal. You don't even care. You know you're getting ripped off. It's so wide. It's so known that like everybody knows in the music business, you don't make any money on your first album or two. They'll make it so that you'll start making money on your third or fourth album. That's where you're gonna get a bigger cut. But that first album or two, you ain't gonna make shit. And you know what? It's better. It's good business to just when it's time for you to make the good money. No, we're just gonna leave you on your own and find a new artist. We always need to keep bringing the new ones. There's always new R&B artists. There's always new rappers. There's always new ones. There's new ones coming in. New rock bands. They're always coming in. 95% of them are going to fail, and they won't never make it to their third album. But they got them coming in.
That's the deep conspiracy, right? Because they all make the money in their second and third albums. And the first album,
the record company just leaves them.
Just gets rid.
Unless it's like an anomaly where you have a Depeche Mode or U2 where they get fucking massive and they could just sustain a career, and 20 years into their career, they write fucking Beautiful Day, and that's a smash hit.
Yeah.
You know, once you're like that, then after like 10, 15 years, you own your own shit, and you realize, okay, I'm going to do my own shit here. Mm-hmm. But then get the majors to distribute it. I'll use their distribution, like what Dr. Dre did. You know,
how about what Prince did? He had to use a fake name. He couldn't even use a name.
Now looking back, everyone thought Prince was crazy. Prince is a fucking genius.
He came up with a symbol.
He
the artist formerly known as Prince. He's not Prince anymore.
Nobody could say his shit. He loved it. Nobody could say the band.
Yeah, they know.
Can't say it.
He proved a point too. Bitch, you're coming to see me. They're coming to see me. They don't give a fuck if I'm with Warner Brothers or A&M or you know, that's all nonsense. They just stole. They were stealing.
Yeah.
You know, they're trying to do that in the world of podcasting. There's a lot of that going on in the world of podcasting where companies are coming in. They're trying to own half of podcasts and put you on a network. It's like really common. It's been a lot of that been going on where they're trying to scoop up podcasts because podcast is such a simple model. I mean, you have one. You know how it is. You take it, you record it, you upload it on iTunes with some sort of a server.
Easy.
It's not difficult. Like, you know, use someone like a service like Libsyn is what we use. They're actually in the podcast distribution business. And once you do that, I mean, that's basically it. That's all you have to do. That's not a lot. If someone like Radiolab or like Hardcore History is a perfect example, he's almost always like in the top 3 or 4 whenever he releases something new. Maybe sometimes often number one. I've seen him one a couple times. It's just a dude and a producer putting together a history podcast.
Yeah.
That's
and
it.
Look at your podcast. You had a direct impact on what's going on with marijuana today. 10 years ago, before this podcast, I think you are the biggest spokesperson for getting people to open their eyes. You know, because
I don't know about all that, but I think the internet is, and I think I'm on the internet. That's what I think it is, because these aren't all my ideas. These are ideas that I've gotten from reading all sorts of crazy shit that gets sent me all the time, reading different.
You're
tweets,
the messenger.
Yeah, what's we're all like conduits. We're all like rivers. You know, like some of us, we tap into like a big ocean of information, and we could shuttle that shit downstream. That's really what it is. So when you get a podcast, or if, you know, like someone sends me interesting shit on Twitter, I retweet things all day long. I always look at something, I'll read it for a few minutes. If it seems interesting, I retweet it. And that's why people say, like, are you endorsing things when you retweet? I found it interesting. Make your own goddamn conclusions. If something is totally ridiculous, like some Christian guy thinks that gays are responsible for the drought, I will fucking retweet that. Doesn't mean I believe that. All right, I just think like, look at this guy. I don't have time to like go through all the information with people, but I like the fact that I'm this sort of portal. So because of that, I feel like you know, I get privy to, or I get access to a lot of information that I might not have ever sought out myself. It gets sent to me. It's really cool. And then I do the same thing. You know, I talk about it on here, and then we'll sit around, we'll try to think about it, we'll try to break it down or figure out it's just another river of the internet. That's what it is. This is all some new thing that's happening to the human race.
Yeah,
where the human race gets to discuss things.
And once the internet blew up, that's when the music business supposedly went down, and maybe it did go down because record sales definitely went down.
They disappeared,
but
right?
Pretty much. Tower Records closed down, Virgin Records closed
Isn't that
down.
nuts?
It's
Virgin closed down.
Crazy. But it's the same owners of these record companies. They always told the artists they weren't making money. Now, this is my conspiracy theory. Now, I think the music business is bigger than fucking ever with the internet. They're not selling CDs. They're not selling solid product. But I think they're making so much more goddamn money than ever before. And why should they tell anybody? Oh, no, you know what? The record business sucks. So now you just want to get a record.
Where are they making the money from?
Online. People,
but most of the stuff is being sold through what? iTunes? Is that the number one?
The thing is, yes, people do steal music.
Wait a minute, what are you saying?
No, I'm talking about, I'm giving the whole overall scope, is that people do steal music, I know that, but I think when you go the old way, where the only way you're going to get a CD is through the actual distribution, you can't reach but a fraction of the world. Unless you're gigantic and you go, unless you're one of the big bands, very hard. You got to have a physical copy. But yes, we're not selling CDs anymore. But now we have the whole world, and they could buy it instantly. I mean, I'm okay with computers. I'm like a blue belt in computers. I'm sure I could find a place where I can get free stuff. But iTunes is so convenient. I got an iPhone. I'm buying all my old vinyl stuff, and it's in my phone. I think more than ever now that we're a phone culture, I think music is bigger than ever now. I love music. I'm so passionate about music. I'm always hunting. It's easier to find stuff. Satellite radio with Shazam. Shazam is huge. Anytime I think now more than ever, I think music is getting really good. There's a lot of good artists out there, and I don't know. It sucked for a while, but I think there's going to be a new explosion of how we get our music.
The record business aren't important anymore. What's important is music. What's important is music producers and artists.
And everyone's producing their own stuff.
And you can distribute stuff in a unique
SoundCloud.
way.
Yeah.
It's a totally different animal now.
Yeah, when I make a song. I like if an independent label wanted to sign me as a producer or whatever, I would never take like an independent label. I would take some deal that was a huge deal that was life changing. But for me it's just way easier just to do whatever I want to do, not have to worry about anybody. And just put whatever I want, whenever I want. I don't have any deadline. Soon as you start getting deadlines and someone owns a piece of my motherfucking music, I don't know about that.
Not just a piece, but most
some independent label.
Well,
no one's heard of. It's got to be a huge label for me to.
Honey had a problem with one of their last songs. They had his last album. There's this one song that I loved, and I'm like, why isn't that song on your album? And even though they wrote that song, they produced it was all theirs. The record company wanted to own it. Yeah. So it's like, oh, Jesus. So they just decided to not put it on there. I'm like, that is crazy.
That is crazy.
They just want to own it.
Someone else owns some
How
shit.
crazy is that, though? You write it,
Yeah.
you sing it, you write it, you sing it, you experiment with it, you change it, you
and some
tweak
dudes
it,
you don't know
own it all. They own it.
Yeah,
It's
crazy.
theirs. They
Yeah.
want it. They didn't
Yeah.
even pay anything for it.
Yeah.
They don't want to pay you for it. They just
Yeah.
want it. It's part of the deal. Give me
So
it.
it's like, what
Whoa.
what exactly are the record companies needed for?
What are they needed for?
But you know what's going on is the music video. MTV no longer exists as a music video TV station.
What
right?
are they now?
They just do like a regular channel now.
That's so weird.
But they might show videos a little bit here and there. I don't even pay attention no more. But why are record labels still making these huge, big budget music videos? Because now everyone they go to Vivo or YouTube. People love watching music videos. Now it's easier. You can watch a music video now on your phone. Before you had to watch it on MTV. How are you going to get MTV on your phone now? So there's like a resurgence of music videos. They're huge, and music is so easy to listen to and share and buy and Shazam and spread amongst. What the music industry thrives on niches and metal people and R&B people. R&B people aren't trying to sell music to these white kids that are into Insane Clown Posse. You know what I mean? The music industry is all about, do you know your niche and are you selling to the right market? And that's what the internet has become. So for music, I don't think the internet killed music. I think it's exploding right
It
now.
only killed these parasitic music companies. That's what it killed.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what
exactly.
it killed. You
The
don't
people
need
ripping it
them
off.
anymore.
Most people are buying their
Well,
shit.
they were distributors. That's all they were. They were distributors and publicists.
Yes.
Now the publicism or the publicist, the best version of it is social media. The best version of it is having a good connection with the fans on social media and people finding out about your shit and they spread it virally. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
What happens is these companies, like these big record companies, they essentially become publicists.
We own your Twitter.
Yeah. Well,
We
they
own
do
your
that.
Twitter.
Oh, I told you what happened with
Can you imagine
Arsenio
that?
Hall. Well, they tried to do that with me, man.
They tried to own your Twitter?
They
Who?
tried to post on it. One of the TV shows I was doing. It was one of the
Can we borrow your
requests.
account?
They wanted to have access to my social media. They wanted to use my Twitter and my Facebook.
Oh shit!
And I was ready. I was like, "Fuck you! There's no way."
Yeah, you could do that to like a fan page type deal. You know what I mean? Like an extra one that I'm not paying any attention. You create your own one. You could do that shit.
But if you sign off on that, it's still no good. Like,
Really?
Yeah. Because you don't know what the fuck they're putting up there unless you approve each and every message.
Mm-hmm.
The best way to do it would be you tell me what you want me to say. What are you trying to get me to say? And I'll tell you whether or not that's ever going to happen. And if you want to say something in my voice, like which they're trying to do, I'm like, you're fucking crazy.
Yeah.
You're crazy because I'm not going to agree. Hey, you guys should tune in to blah, blah, blah on primetime at 8. Amazing. Like, it'd be cool if you guys tweeted this. Like, what? Are you out of your mind? You think I'm going to tweet promotions for other shows or live tweet things that you've got going on or get involved with your fucking Shark Week or whatever the fuck it is? Like, that kind of crazy talk. Like, that's what happens when you become a part of a network. You also become, like, involved in promos, and they want to, like, they owned Arsenio Hall's Facebook. He couldn't get his Facebook back. When he did that Arsenio, the resurgence of the Arsenio Hall show.
Did he own it before on his own?
It was his.
It was his.
It was his. But to do the new show, that was part of the deal. They wanted to take over his fucking Facebook.
That's crazy.
That's what they do. That's what they do.
Because that's all the power. You blow up some artist like Rihanna's Twitter, she can, just based on her Twitter, she can make or break bands. Or not really break them, she can make them.
Yeah,
you know?
she could do incredible stuff.
You
She's
know,
got
by
50
herself.
million.
She has all the power. So if
Yeah.
she loses the label just with that Twitter,
Oh, yeah.
she owns her own shit.
Oh, and Instagram and all those things. That's all you need to do.
I bet a lot of the deals now are, I think,
Oh, they
the power is going back to the people. Everything's being set up, and record labels are probably fumbling, but
They're still trying to jack young artists. They still try to do shit
and
like
and they're
this.
making all that online money.
Yeah, I don't know how much money that is. Jamie, what is the
everything online is a lot.
I know, but I mean, I want to know, like, if there's ever been a study on what percentage of music gets purchased online and how much of it just gets downloaded illegally. Like, what do you think the ratio is?
I think most people
if you had
buy
to
it.
guess.
With Spotify coming in now and people paying for that, they can track that. People pay, and that's high.
And that's problematic. That's in a lot of ways a lot like a record company, because that's one of the big complaints that artists have had about Spotify is that they don't get paid enough money from it. That's like Taylor Swift's complaint about it.
Oh, really? They're
Yeah.
complaining.
Yeah. They're I think they're trying to get into the podcast world too. But the point is, like, they're an aggregator, right? They're a portal for something. Like, how much money should a portal make? I mean, what percentage should Portal make, and what percentage should Taylor Swift make?
Yeah.
Taylor Swift should make almost everything.
Yeah, slowly.
Pharrell, look at this. Pharrell made only $2,700 in songwriter royalties from 43 million plays of Happy on Pandora. What the fuck? What the fuck, man? Holy shit. That's like an Onion sketch. You know? I mean, that's like something the Onion would write for an article.
You know how big you have to be to make any kind of money?
$2,700 for 43 million plays.
You know what? Someone's going to start. Someone's got to start like a Pandora that's actually a musician.
Like an open source thing.
Yeah, and say, listen, we're going to do
what
this.
Is it?
It's called Tidal. Jay-Z and a bunch of other, I don't want to say all hip-hop artists started it, but they started something very similar. Higher quality downloads. You can pay $10 a month or $20 a month. That's where that one Beyonce concert was for in Central Park. It was a special Tidal concert. That's where you watched it.
So the artists make more money.
Supposedly they make more money, but there was some backlash when that came out. That there were people or fans were saying like, "Why do you need more money? You already have money. Let's let independent artists get a chance to make some money." It's really.
What is he getting all the money from it, or is
I don't quite.
But little by little, you see what appears to be happening is little by little, the artist is now, because of the internet, is slowly the power is going back to them.
Yes.
Yeah, because once you have followers and you can contact your fans, you needed the record company to contact your fans. How else are you going to contact your fans? We don't even have cell phones back then.
Exactly.
Well, you need us.
To
put you on the radio.
Get you on and the radio had like really strict rules. Like they had really strict relationships. Radio's lost all their power too, man. They're cutting budgets left and right, firing people. You know, Kevin and Bean are good friends of mine. I do their show. That's like the last terrestrial radio show I do. They're really nice guys, and I do their show. And last time I was there, Bean was there. And he was telling me like they meet with like the upper management, but everyone's negative. It's all down. It's all downer. No one's like, you guys are doing great. It's such an enjoyable show. Really appreciate that we're all working together. Everyone's just like, fuck, we got to fire people. We got to cut time. It's like that business is a kind of a dying business. Mm-hmm. It's like Morse code.
Because
just
now that you have your
ago.
music on your phone instead. I remember, it seems like just yesterday where I'm driving around, I always had 55 CDs in the back of my car, people stepping on them. There's always CDs, and once every couple weeks I got to fucking organize my shit. There's just CDs
now
everywhere
it's just
in my
your phone.
car. It's just your phone. It's so much easier.
Yeah, and
to
it's
go
on
through
demand instantaneously.
Anything you want. You could always, if you don't have something on iTunes or whatever, you could always go to YouTube and listen to it on YouTube.
No, it's incredible.
Yeah.
It's an amazing time for that.
And now
these guys that were like radio DJs, essentially what made them cool was their personalities. But when you get trapped in a DJ gig like that, you know, people get little snippets of your personality and your thought process on things, and then you play another song. And like, I think for those guys, it's like they would be way better served without a radio show. They'd be way better served just talking about shit. Because that's what people enjoy about them. Anybody could play those same records. Mm-hmm. You could have a robot voice that plays the same records. So the people that are tuning in just for the music, go ahead, do it, brother. The people that are tuning in just for the music, those people are going to tune in no matter what. That's what they want to hear. They don't care about the personalities. But the personalities, like guys like Kevin and Bean, they're fun dudes. They're interesting guys. And that's what is interesting about that show. Like, they would almost be better served if the radio station fired them and they had to go and do an internet show. Because if they did an internet show, it would just be them talking about stuff, and it would be great. I mean, it would just be a podcast. I think, for the longest time, it was fucking really hard to get the internet on your phone. You know, you had to download shit. And then 3G came around, it got a little bit better. But then 4G LTE came around. It's like, that shit is fast as fuck. Instantaneous streaming. Like, if you want to listen to a song, there's almost never a hiccup. It's really easy and really quick to do. That's such a game changer, man. That's so.
If those DJs are like a curator, though, where do you find your new music these days? Like that's a good point. Because that's kind of like if you're considered yourself, I guess, like the Twitter curator for sort of that kind of content and.
That's a really, really good point. Where you find new music. That's a really good point. That's why I'm so out of the fucking loop. I don't know anything. People tell me about some guy like, you know, Eddie was talking about that King Daddy guy. Never heard of him until he talked about him.
I think it's Daddy Yankee, and it's just a...
Daddy Yankee?
Yeah.
Okay, well, whatever. I never heard of that either. Yeah. But think about that. You know, Eddie found out. He's like, I can't believe this guy's huge. I just found out from him in real time on the show. Like, there's so many people that no one has ever heard of that are gigantic.
Music?
Yeah. Yeah. We're talking about that King Daddy guy. Like, I didn't find out about it until you just said it.
Yeah,
I
he's
had
huge.
never
He's
heard.
massive. He's playing the Staples Center. It
That's
looked
crazy.
like a movie. Staples Center.
Right.
King Daddy.
Yeah.
Come on. That sounds like a Chris Rock movie.
Well, it's just an amazing time. It's an amazing time. It's an amazing time for promotion. It's an amazing time for, it's an amazing time to do podcasts. I mean, podcasts, this is the craziest time ever for podcasts. It's this new thing. I mean, we've been doing it for 6 years next month. It'll be December 30th or something like that. It was 6 years. In that time, podcasts have gone from being some shit that people did for a goof to one of the few ways that I get entertainment. It's like one of the major ways. My major ways are like Walking Dead, like shows like that I'll watch at home, hunting shows, MMA fights, and podcasts. It's a major part of like what I listen to. Not my own shit, but like Radio Lab, the TED Podcast Hour, Hardcore History, Ari's show, Joey's show. There's all these podcasts to listen to. There's always entertainment. Always, constantly. It's constant entertainment. And I can't tell you how many fucking people I've talked to that say, hey, man, listen to your show. And because of your show, we started our own podcast. Like, anybody can do it. Yeah. Why not? Yeah. Why not? If it's good, if you have one person take a fucking chance on your podcast, one person, and they go, that's pretty fucking good, and they send it to their friend, dude, listen to these guys shoot the shit about shit. Like, we saw it the other day when we were talking about Josh Olin, who we had it on the podcast. We both watched a podcast that had like 2,000 downloads on YouTube, maybe, and it was over a year ago. And Jamie and I both watched it. We both watched it because we wanted to see these guys' take on it. So these guys' take on it, which was intelligent. They're funny guys. They had good points. They gave us like an insight into it. Now, because of that, I'll see that podcast and I'll go, oh, these guys, I remember these guys. And that's what people do. And then do. Next thing you know, you got 100,000 downloads a month. I mean, that's not unusual. That's super possible and plausible now. All you have to do is focus on something and put together something that's really good and unusual. We all have friends, like my friend Dave Dolan, who just died. Let me tell you something. If that motherfucker was alive, if he lived in L.A., I'd have him on the podcast every week. I'm kicking myself that I never had him on while he was alive, but he never comes to L.A. That guy would be hilarious on a podcast. If someone gave him a podcast like the fucking Investigator Chronicles, the Private Investigator Chronicles, and you just let him be himself, he could figure out how to be himself. God, it would be hilarious.
What if you could do stand-up like in your podcast where you're talking, you're telling jokes, and everyone's connected to your headset so you could hear people laugh?
Oh, they would also start yelling shit at you.
And then you shut down. As soon as they yell, you have a heckle button. Boom, they're gone.
Yeah, but you would have to find them. Like, how would you find them? Pick them out? I mean, how many people are on the line at the same time? If you don't have a show like a
they'd have
show
to have like
theater,
a voice recognizer.
Yeah, if you do a show in a theater with 1,000 people, it can actually be kind of intimate.
If you say anything other than laughing, you got to record all your laughs, and only those sounds can come out. Any other sounds, you get cut off. You're like,
what if you go,
yeah, you got to do as many, because then you get cut off, and you find out why you got cut off, and then you get that laugh in there. You go, I need that one.
You want people to be able to express themselves. You want people to be able to express
themselves. If there wasn't hecklers, if people respected you, how cool would that be? Where you could hear, it might be like 3 or 4 people listening to you.
It's
like
totally
if you have a podcast.
possible. It's totally possible.
It's like a conference call, really.
Yeah, exactly. Like a giant conference call. But the problem would be, like I was saying, like you can have a show with 1,000 people in the audience, and it's kind of intimate. It is kind of intimate. You can make it intimate.
Yeah.
But you're all looking at each other. And that's what people. That's the way people are supposed to talk.
I think I'm describing a webcam show. They already got that. I'm an idiot.
Well,
you could do webcam. You could do webcam.
Texting. Those guys don't get to talk.
There's no sound. That's different. I made that up.
Imagine if the girl was like listening to all those guys jerking off simultaneously. She's got 2,700 guys, and you just hear, instead of like an audience of cheering and laughing, you just hear 2,700 groans. Oh, you fucking bitch. Oh yeah, finger your asshole. Blah. Just 2,700 dudes. All you could hear is them jacking off simultaneously.
I'm gonna have to turn you down. You're just a little too wild.
That would be so ridiculous.
That's coming though. That's coming. Watch.
We're supposed
Stand
to
up
look
from
at
your
each other.
house, from your living room. Joey could just sit there and smoke. He's kind of doing that on Periscope without the sound.
Yeah.
Without the sound.
He gets those little hearts though.
Did you watch
Come by his
the
Periscope
Acid
show.
podcast?
No, I heard it was ridiculous.
They wanted me to do Acid. I wouldn't do it. I'm
Why
like,
wouldn't you do it?
I didn't want to do it, man. I'm not like attracted to that kind of experience.
Acid?
Nah, that doesn't sound good to me.
What does it sound like to you?
Sounds like a horrible time.
No, I've heard it's great. Like Duncan swears by it. Maybe you should talk to Duncan about it.
I don't think I'm programmed for it. I don't.
Have you tried it?
When I was a kid, and it was like a synthetic mushroom feel. I'd rather have the real mushrooms. I'm down with mushrooms, but not a synthetic form of what's in mushrooms. That's what I think it is. I think LSD and acid is a synthetic form of mushrooms, right? Am I guessing?
They're all
wrong?
similar. They're similar. Like a lot of the tryptamines, they share like psilocybin is really close to DMT. The way it synthesizes in the body, it's like super close. Like I'm gonna butcher this, but it's like dimethyltryptamine, and I think what is the psilocybin version of it? 4-foxphoroaloxy and dimethyltryptamine, something like that. Like it's real close. It's like they're kissing cousins. They're all the really powerful tryptamines. They're all like neighbors of each other. It's very strange. And they're all the closest to human neurochemistry. One of the most fucked up things about the really powerful psychedelic drugs is the strongest ones, like mushrooms and like DMT. The DMT is the strongest. It's like an actual human neurotransmitter. I mean, it's not even like an addition. It's not even an addition to it. It's actually produced in your own body. That's the weirdest thing ever about drugs, that the strongest one we know of, your own body makes. Like the fact that most people don't know that, the fact that most people know that Kanye West is married to Kim Kardashian, most people don't know that your brain produces the most powerful psychedelic drug that science has ever observed. That's a nutty thing, man. That is a weird aspect of who we are as human beings. What kind of a strange waking up infantile civilization we are in the middle of like the greatest era of technological innovation ever. Wi-Fi, the ability to download songs instantly on phones like we were talking about, the periscoping and fucking just insane ability to connect with each other. At this day and age, we still have illegal marijuana, illegal psychedelic drugs, the drug that Bill Gates or Steve Jobs said that LSD was what led him to create Apple. He said it was like one of the most important moments of his life was having an LSD trip.
There's so many problems in this world, so many different levels, coming from all different angles, from all different forms of life. There's so much shit. Everyone's trying to fight this, they're trying to fight that, they're into this, they're into that. Everyone's got their own cause. But if we all got together and do what we did with weed and the legislation and all that stuff, we did that with just one thing. We just focus all our power, it would fix everything. If we made it a law that every politician has to do ayahuasca, if we did that, that'll fix all the problems.
It would fix a lot. If that's too much
just one
work,
law.
Even that's too much work, have them have one DMT trip a month while they're in office.
Yeah, just to keep
everybody has to have a ceremony. You get together and you meet with the elves, and they tell you whether or not you're fucking up.
Yeah. One law. That's all. Forget about all this other shit and we're scattering. Just one thing. Make them do mushrooms or DMT. That's part of being a politician. Just to make sure that the odds are that you'll have compassion for the people and not let your greed take over.
And be interviewed while you're under, too.
Yeah. You have to have proof. You have to have a witness, and that's to be videotaped.
Put them under, then talk to them about life.
Yeah, and have a shaman flying all these guys from Peru. You know what I mean?
Could you imagine if you did that to Dick Cheney?
Dude, like dudes from Chile, are, like they're gonna fake like they're Peruvian. There's gonna be all these fake Peruvian. You know, big money. Now that's a big racket.
I hate to break it to you, but those leopard claws that dude has for earrings, them shits are plastic. That's fake. Homeboy's fake.
What leopard claw?
I'm saying.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
yeah.
There's conspiracy theory.
Dude's
Yeah.
got a
They're
plastic
shipping in
earrings.
Mexicans. It's just cheaper if we just fucking Mexican, Peruvian. They're the same.
Senor, ayahuasca is very strong.
But you can't, you gotta, they gotta kind of look
The
Peruvian.
ayahuasca in my country is the best.
You start bringing Brazilians in, right? Everybody out there. But you know what? Everybody gonna get their cup.
Brew.
We're gonna put their cup. Oh, just like that.
Oh,
Nice. Everybody.
Nice.
You're gonna see Gotch, my Gotch.
My gosh, this good. Yeah.
Everything I do is for ayahuasca. I fight for ayahuasca. I live for ayahuasca. That was terrible. That would change the
Can you
world, though. It
imagine
sounds
if
like
you
a
could
joke,
get-
but that would. One law.
Can you imagine if you could get like Dick Cheney and get him fucked up on mushrooms and talk to him about life? That would be worth so much money. How much, like, all these, like, capitalist dudes, you want to make some real money, Donald Trump? This is what you do. You eat 5 grams of mushrooms on a webcam. If Donald Trump was trying to raise money for his campaign, and that's what he said, that was his big gimmick. He's going to take 5 grams of mushrooms on a webcam and just talk to Skype with people from all over the world and answer their questions about what he's going to do to fix the world.
His hair would light on fire. Spontaneous combustion.
He'd probably shave his head halfway into the conversation. I can't do this anymore. He'd probably like, he'd
Oh,
like,
dude, hell
got
yeah.
cotton candy on my head. I can't
Yeah.
fucking hang with this anymore.
Yeah.
But I think that if you could do something like that, just and make it something that would be culturally acceptable. Like, it sounds ridiculous now. Oh, we're going to send the fucking presidential candidates down to the jungle and make them do some drugs. Like, it sounds ridiculous, right? But if there was a culturally... It's only ridiculous because you have to leave the country, which doesn't make any sense. If you do DMT, right, one of the things that you feel is that you're not even there. You've entered into some completely different dimension, some alternative... coexisting universe is what it feels like you step into. It doesn't matter if you do that in Peru or in Japan or on the moon. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, where you're going has nothing to do with where you are. Yeah. It really has nothing to do with it. Mm-hmm. It's only because it's illegal that people are forced to go to these indigenous cultures and do it there. If it was legal, you could have a shamanic retreat center in America. Mm-hmm. And people could go to a shamanic retreat center, and it could be treated just as respective as going to, whatever, a psychiatrist, or just as respected as going to a fucking a cancer doctor or an oncologist or anybody.
Well,
just getting your body checked out.
There's one of the only countries on the planet where ayahuasca is praised and legal is the same country where they take a month off from work and party straight. Where's that?
Where's that?
Brazil.
They take a month off.
Dude, Carnival. They just party for a month.
It's totally legal in Brazil?
Yeah, it's totally legal. The UN try to impose some shit, and they're like, dude, fuck you. You're not taking away our ayahuasca.
Damn, maybe we should move to Brazil.
Dude, think about that.
Dude. How long do you think it would take us to learn Portuguese? Do you think I could do stand-up if I learned Portuguese? I could do stand-up in Brazil? So, like, have you ever thought about end-of-the-world scenarios? Have you ever thought about, like, if Yellowstone blows up, where are you going to move?
Yes.
I'm moving to Brazil. Either Brazil or Australia. Those are the spots. Australia would be way easier. Everybody speaks English. I just got to get used to the wrong side of the road or convince them to drive on the correct side of the road, which would probably be better.
10th planet.
That's how Americans think. If I go to Australia, I'm going to tell them, listen, faggots, you stop driving the left, driving the right like a fucking normal. We invented the car, okay?
10th planet Florianopolis.
Yeah, there
That's
you go.
going to happen.
Why not? But do you think, is it possible that you could see, like, the shit hitting the fan and move into another country? Have you ever considered that?
Yes.
Where have you considered moving to?
Australia's nice.
Very nice.
When you live in, like, Melbourne's like Santa Monica.
I'm going there tomorrow for the first time.
Yeah.
My first time in Melbourne.
Sydney's really nice.
I love Sydney.
Sydney is awesome. That feels
People
like you're in the
are
United
cool.
States.
They are cool as fuck there.
Yeah.
They're real friendly.
Very
fun,
westernized.
Very westernized. Like, you could totally fit right in there. Like, if you had to live in Sydney, or that's the only place I've been, but I'd be like, yeah, that's just like living in a nice city in America where people have a cool accent. That would be it.
Yeah.
You know? Did you go with me to Australia ever? Did you ever do one of the UFCs out there?
Yes.
That's right. Remember we took over that bar and got blasted?
Yes.
Oh, my
Damn.
God. Dude.
You went nuts. He bought the whole bar, drinks, and
oh, my God. Dude, we spent
that was so
thousands
rare.
of dollars. we went crazy. We just decided, it was me and Tommy Segura and Eddie. We had a whole day off. So we went to see that Leonardo DiCaprio movie where they trick you, where he pretends that, it's all a dream. Whoa,
Inception?
Yeah, whatever. No. It was the other one.
Shutter Island?
Yeah, the island one.
Oh,
Remember, we were both
yeah.
mad.
Oh,
All three
yeah.
of us were mad. We're like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? You can't just do that. Oh, it's
Yeah.
just a dream. Psych.
Yeah.
Just so stupid.
Fuck your dream.
And
no
so-
dreams are that perfect.
It was like one of the only times ever in my life that we just made a decision to get drunk. Like, let's go get drunk. Like, let's go to a bar, let's find a bar and get fucked up. And we're like, yeah, let's do it. We just all decided to go get fucked up. Like, there was nothing else to do. There was, I didn't have a show until the next day. So we went to this bar and just went off.
He just bought everybody drinks. Everybody.
Just kept buying shots. We bought hundreds of shots. I don't even know how much money I spent. It was insane. we literally were just buying people drinks and high-fiving people and hugging people. It was nuts. Yeah. It was nuts. We stayed there for hours. We were wrecked.
Yeah.
That was about as drunk as I've ever gotten as a grown man. And then went back to the hotel room. I think I threw up. I don't remember. And then the next day we had a show.
I think that was Joe Stevenson, George Soteropoulos.
Was it?
Yeah.
What was the main event?
That I don't know. I do not know.
God, there's so many fights now. It's crazy. It's crazy
I can't
how many
keep track
fights there are.
Of shit.
It's impossible.
Oh,
Did you see
man.
Vitor just take out Dan Henderson again?
Mhm.
Damn.
Head kick.
Damn.
Who'd ever thought?
Who'd ever thought?
You know, at one point there was only one Brazilian that could box, and it was Vitor.
Yeah.
But Murillo could box too, and I think Renzo could box a little bit. He had good, you know.
Vitor's kicks, though, they have changed his whole game. Because Vitor's always had hand. You know, Vitor's had like 7 hand operations.
Yeah.
He's broken his hands like 7 times.
So, what do you think about him being off TRT? What do you think about that?
Well, the reality is, okay,
he's not off it.
Here's my if he really needed it so bad that he said he needed it before, and it was a medical issue, his body was low on testosterone, and he had to take it, and then he took it, and was just destroying everybody, like looked like a world beater. Like goddamn, remember when Vitor was? You got to think that he was probably fighting with low test for a long time, like the Matt Lindland days and a couple of maybe even Sakuraba fight. Like Low test, low testosterone.
You think so?
Maybe.
Remember
what
he
got
looked
off
like
of it.
when he was 19 against Randy Couture?
But okay, that's true. But do you ever see what he looked like when he fought Rich Franklin? He knocked out Rich Franklin. But go to Rich Franklin versus Vitor Belfort.
He's not as big.
No, he's smooth, dude. He doesn't look shredded at all, and he's still bombing on Rich Franklin. He still had the skills and everything that he had, but I think it might have been one of the reasons why he fades so quickly. One of the reasons why it's hard for him to sustain like a hard pace without the TRT. And I think that a fight like the Dan Henderson fight points to the fact that he's still super dangerous. He's got nasty skills and really fast as fuck, but he didn't do anything. Look at him there.
Yeah.
That's with him against Rich Franklin. Look at his body. I mean, he's like real smooth. I mean, he doesn't look like a pipsqueak. He still looks like an athlete for sure, but it doesn't look like Vitor in the TRT days. Not even fucking
This is
close.
after TRT.
This is before TRT. See, he fought like this, and then he fought Anderson, and all the way. By the way, this is all after he tested positive for steroids the first time he fought in Pride in Vegas. He tested positive for steroids when he fought, I think it was Dan Henderson. He lost that fight, but he tested positive for something, some metabolite.
That was the UFC?
No, that was Pride.
They don't test.
They did when they were in Vegas. Well, they had the one show in the United States. They tested.
Shit.
And that's the one show where Nick Diaz got popped for fighting Gomi, remember? He got popped for weed, and Vitor got popped for steroids. So when the side effect of using steroids, and this is one of the reasons why a lot of people are against testosterone replacement therapy for fighters, is that when you use steroids, your body stops producing testosterone on its own. So you could get tested. The steroids have since left your body, but your body's not, the endocrine system hasn't recovered yet. So you go to the doctor and you go, hey man, I got really low testosterone. And the doctor's like, well, you certainly do. This is proof positive. We have it here in the blood. They do a blood test. They get the results. They put the results against the commission, and they say, hey, this guy needs test. And so they give him a testosterone use exemption, a TUE. And that was what all these fighters were getting. But the complaints from the people that were clean, or wanted everybody to be clean, allegedly were clean, I should say, was that the only reason why these guys have low test in their early 30s, like some of these guys, like they had a guy that was 25 that was on testosterone replacement, and he looked like a tank. The only way a guy would need this at that age is if he abused his system, if he took testosterone and fucked up his endocrine system. So that was like the big argument against the testosterone use exemption. So if you look at him right there, now pull up Vitor Belfort versus Luke Rockhold, and this is a totally different animal. I mean, this is like 2 years later, right? And he doesn't look remotely like the same guy. I mean, he looks like a goddamn, this was at the weigh-ins, by the way. The weigh-ins, go up where he's throwing that wheel kick right there, bam. Look at the fucking difference in his build. Dude, I mean, what the fuck? This is the same weight class, okay? But he looks like he's fuck, at least 10 pounds of muscle bigger.
Yeah, he looks
completely
huge, though.
shredded.
Look at that.
10 pounds of
What
muscle
fight was that?
more.
Luke Rockhold?
Yep, that's after he smashed Luke Rockhold.
And so he was on TRT here.
Yes, he was jacked.
Damn.
Well, I think Vitor
Looks
on
good.
TRT fucking looks fantastic. I think Vitor on TRT is one of the scariest fighters the MMA world has ever seen.
It's crazy
And
that
I
he's
would've-
still fighting and at that level.
and
It's
at the
crazy.
highest level.
He's the only guy left.
Nope. Yeah, him and Josh Barnett. I would have loved to have seen Vitor like this, TRT Vitor versus Weidman, TRT Vitor versus Anderson Silva. I would have loved to see it. I understand that it's not fair, and I wouldn't expect Weidman to take that fight if he knew that Vitor was on TRT. I wouldn't expect it, but goddamn, I would have loved to have seen it.
And no way Luke Rockhold is on TRT. No way, right?
Well,
Impossible.
you can never say no way because guys have tested positive that looked absolutely like shit. You never know because they look like shit and the testosterone makes them look a little bit better or the whatever they're taking makes them look a little bit better.
Whose arm is bigger? Look at his arm and then look at Vitor's
Well,
arm.
Luke Rockhold, first of all, is taller. So if he's going to weigh the same amount, he's going to have less muscle. There's just no way around it. It'll be longer.
Damn,
and
look
he
at
gets
Vitor's
a lot of
arm
leverage.
right there. Holy shit.
Oh,
it
my
looks
God,
like,
he was so jacked.
Looks like Mark Kerr.
But Luke Rockhold is a fucking savage. I mean, that dude's a stud. He's one of the toughest guys in the sport and real smart, real technical, but TRT Vitor ran him over. TRT Vitor wheel kicked him in the fucking head and beat him down. And he beat down Dan Henderson like that. He knocked out Michael Bisping with a head kick and fucked his eye up permanently. Michael Bisping's eye is permanently disfigured because of Vitor kicking him in the head. This is like he's one of the scariest guys in the history of the sport when he was on TRT. It was like a 4-fight run where he was just fucking smashing people. And the Dan Henderson fight was one of the most devastating because it wasn't just the kick. He had uncorked a fucking left uppercut before that kick, hurt him real bad, and then head kicked him and knocked him out. He was fucking terrifying when he was on TRT. So he's more tentative now. He didn't do a single thing for the first 2 minutes in this fight. He literally didn't throw a punch or a kick. He just circled for 2 minutes. And then, Dan threw a couple inside leg kicks. There was a couple like little whiffs, nothing really connected. And then Vitor just uncorks that head kick. So the question is, when you look at Vitor now, he definitely looks better in this fight than he did in the Weidman fight. He looked more built, but he still didn't look like he looked when he was on TRT. So even if look at that shot down where he's punching Dan Henderson in the head. Look at that. Jesus fucking Christ. Look at the build on him, dude. He looks like a lion. Look at his neck. Like, look at the fucking traps on this guy when he's throwing this punch. And he's connecting perfectly on Dan Henderson's jaw on that shot. That is a classic picture. He was a monster, dude. But the question is, like, what is he doing now? How's he, if he needed testosterone replacement before, like, how is his body recovered like this? Like, has he figured out some nutritional way to get around it? Or is he figuring out some undetectable way to use? No one knows. We're not going to know unless he gets caught.
Based on what his body looked like in his last fight against Dan Henderson, do you think his body looks like he's not on it or
He definitely doesn't look like Tim Kennedy said it was best. He said it doesn't look like Vitor's using as many steroids. Tim Kennedy's hilarious. He said he wanted to fight the slow. I'm interested in a fight, he said, with the slower, fatter Vitor.
Yeah, meanwhile, it looks like he does steroids too. Tim Kennedy?
He's a tank. That dude is
I know.
fucking
I'm not
tank.
saying he does, but fuck, he's yoked.
He's yoked.
Damn.
He's 5'10". He walks around at 220 pounds.
I'm not saying he does steroids, and I'm saying if it got out, I wouldn't be like, oh my God.
I know, right? Well, who the fuck knows? Who knows who's doing it and who's not doing it?
I'm a fan of his, though, by the way.
Tim Kennedy?
That was a
Love
compliment.
that dude.
You know what I mean? That was a compliment.
I think, I just did it. Did that, Why don't I say I don't? I should
You gotta
say
fix
like.
that, bro.
I think like.
Can you control what we see, or is he controlling?
We can do it if we set it up. I can connect to Apple TV.
That's the future for you, man. If you can just, because you're really good at looking through shit.
Yeah, but it's distracting. It's better to have Jamie do it because I like to engage with the person I'm talking to. I don't want to look down and type shit in.
Yeah.
I do that occasionally, but I think it's best we figured out a rhythm. Right, Jamie?
Yeah, I get it.
Figured out how to do this shit. But so Ronda's fighting in Australia in front of 70,000 people this weekend.
That's for sure. 70.
Yeah. Well, they had sold like as of a couple weeks ago. They were already like 50,000 tickets sold.
Remember those people who thought women's MMA would never make it?
How about Dana?
There was so many people.
Dana didn't think so.
Yeah.
It has to be someone like her though. What's interesting is like Joanna, the strawweight champion. She's like scarier than Ronda. When she beats people up, she smashes their face in.
Yeah, for me, and I think a big part of the reason there are those people that thought women's MMA would never make it, and they're still holding on to that. They think that Ronda's just a freak, and after her, it's over. There's still some people, but the reason was everyone kind of thought that at first too, because in the beginning, back in like 99, 2000, the girls that were doing MMA had no skill. They had nothing. So it looked like, man, girls really can't fight. I even doubted it, but that one time in Vegas where we went, I forget what show it was.
It was tough enough.
It was tough enough, and there was some girls going. I'm like, holy shit!
We had so much fun.
Right there, that's when I became pro female MMA. That's when I thought, like, wow, people like watching girls pull their hair and scratch each other. We like watching that. We'll watch that in a second. Big, we watch it on World Star Hip Hop all the time.
We went there to see Nick the Goat Thompson fight. Remember? He was the main event.
That's right.
Yeah.
Nick Thompson.
He's
That's
just
right.
Interesting dude.
I forget who that girl was.
Super smart guy. He was like a law student.
The chick had legit jiu-jitsu. That's the first time I saw legit jiu-jitsu in a women's MMA fight. I don't know. It was like 2000, 98, 90. And then what Jeff Osborne did, he's the original Invicta.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hook and shoot.
Yeah.
Well, Osborne put on Eve Edwards versus Aaron
Riley.
Aaron Riley
Ooh,
in like 96 or some shit, right? When was that fight?
I don't remember the year, but it was
like 99 maybe?
During the same era of Mecca and remember the Vale Tudo? What was it? IVC?
Yeah.
Remember those days?
Fuck yeah. The Pedro. Remember the Pedro?
That's like... talking about those days, it's like in metal, that's the equivalent to the German thrash scene. It's just like that. Remember that Mecca and IVC?
Yeah.
Most people don't know what that is.
Do you remember that dude, the Pedro?
Yeah.
Do you remember where Gary Goodrich reached down in his pants and grabbed his dick?
Yeah.
Gary Goodrich reached down and crushed his guy's balls in
with
his hands.
With his feet.
In his hands too, though, right?
He did it with his feet.
Only with his feet?
I tell you what, Eddie Bravo. I turned his nuts into peanut butter.
That's so fucked up.
That's what he said, word for word.
Well, guys can get their nuts
See if you can find that.
smashed
The
and killed
Pedro
versus Gary Goodrich nut shot.
Yeah. The Pedro versus Gary Goodrich nut smash.
Yeah. Testicle crunch.
He loved it.
You were allowed to do that back in the day.
You
remember
were allowed
Keith
to grab
Hackney?
the ropes.
Remember Keith Hackney versus Josan? Had Josan in side control. Josan held onto the headlock. It was before the Von Flue choke was invented.
He was punching his balls.
And he just wailing on his balls. Wailing on his balls.
That's the new era. Eventually, it's going to be MMA where balls are legal.
God damn.
When the balls are in play, the game changes.
We had that sketch
that
we
was
were
a
trying to
real
do for the Man Show.
Extreme sack fighting. That's the next
and
level.
Bobby Lee was going to be the champ because he had the littlest balls.
Dude, you make ball shots legal in MMA. It changes everything.
Yeah. Yep.
You don't keep your hands up. You keep your hands low.
Okay, what's going on here? What do you say?
I found a knee to the.
No, he like grabbed his balls.
I didn't see that.
Extreme sack fighting.
He might have not remembered it right. Honestly, I kind of remember him doing it with his hands.
No, he does it with his feet. It's with his feet.
This is Gary
That's not
Goodrich
it.
in Pride. That's in Pride. It's definitely not it. It's not in
The
that either.
Pedro.
That's Pedro Hizzo. It's actually the Pedro.
That's what I typed in up
He
here.
typed in the Pedro.
Yeah, it might be one of those ones where nobody has it. Yeah, here we go. Gary Goodrich. Go down to the Pedro, the fourth one down. Click on that. Let's see if this is it. This is the Pedro.
This is it.
But this is him, but that's not Gary Goodrich he's fighting. That's somebody else.
Oh, there's a highlight reel of the
Yeah.
Pedro. And you know what? He's not going to show that.
He might just say, "Look at this."
Man, I want to know about
bullshit."
that guy. I want to know about the Pedro. That guy was he was like
pioneer.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Look at how these old school nets. They used to put nets around the ring.
People
They used
don't know
to
about
fight
the
in
Pedro.
ring. Well, they used to fight in rings. Like people don't know that Chuck Liddell fought fucking
Pele.
Jose Pele Landy Johns, who was at the time the baddest motherfucker from Shootbox. Pele was a beast, man. When he was young, he was devastating. He was like the leader of the Shootbox crew. and he was one of the best. And Chuck Liddell fought him no rules with fucking bare knuckles. That's a wild ass fight.
All you UFC fanatics that are under 30, I mean, you got to know your history. You got to go back and study. It's like, to us, it's like studying the 30s and the 40s. You know what I mean? We got to go back, look at the 60s.
You got to look at that old school stuff,
Yeah,
son.
that's
you got to
the real
understand how
shit.
the masters did it.
IVC. And what was the other one called?
Remember when Marco
Federico
Ruas?
Federico Lapenda. He was the first Dana White.
Yeah, that's right. What was his organization called?
It was either IVC or Mecca.
And
There
they
was
still
two
have
dudes.
jungle fight.
There was two dudes. It was Fabrico Lapenda, and then there was another guy. That's some serious. That was late '90s MMA, bare knuckle.
How about when Marco Ruas fought Oleg Taktarov in a hotel in Brazil? They had like a chandelier above the ring. They fought in a ring.
I don't remember that
bare
one.
knuckle.
Damn.
Yeah, I had it on VHS. It's the most ridiculous scenario. They're like in
Was
a
it real?
conference room. Yeah,
Was it real?
yeah.
It
Oh
was?
yeah. They fought bare knuckle. It was like a slow, methodical. Find that Marco Ruas, Ruas versus Oleg Taktarov. They fought in Brazil. It's in a ring, and they have this like ridiculous like chandelier above the ring. You're like looking at this chandelier. What the fuck is this?
What was
Where
that
are you?
Second name? Marco Ruas.
Oleg Taktarov. He was one of the original fighters in the UFC, the first ever that I had ever heard of Sambo before. I'd never even heard of it before.
Yeah.
This guy was throwing up these leg locks.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious when you look at it like, we thought Oleg Taktarov was a leg lock master. You compare him to someone like Eddie Cummings, and you look at like how the leg lock game has changed in 20 years.
Yeah.
It's just radically changed.
Yeah.
To the point, like, people have figured out all these crazy new ways to control and enter, and we used to think that Oleg Taktarov was the shit.
Yeah.
He was a tough prick.
Remember when Henzo upkicked him and knocked him out?
Yeah.
He just went back
Yeah,
starched.
that was World Combat Championships, right? The WCC or something like that. That was the
Yeah.
same one where Tom Erickson fought Murillo Bustamante for like 90 minutes.
Oh, shit.
Remember
that's
that?
right.
Yeah. And Tom Erickson was like 300 pounds. He was
Yeah.
a beast,
280.
dude.
280.
He was giant.
Tom Erickson was the first male, not male, but heavyweight unbeatable force.
Tom
Someone took
Erickson
his back,
came
though.
along. He came along. Heath Herring did.
Heath Herring took his back.
In
Choked him.
Pride. He
That's
got
right.
tired. Tom got tired. Yeah, this is it. Like, look at where they are. They're in a fucking. There is like some angles you get to see. Like, I guess actually with that thing above their head, there's this crazy like. It's hard
Dude,
to see
I
it from this
forgot
angle.
all
Look
about
at
this
Look at this fight. This is crazy. Oleg Taktarov just landed some good shots. Bare knuckle.
And how
Above
long does this
them-
one go for?
Oh, it was a long ass fight. This looks like 30 minutes. It says, but they fought in like a conference hall, man. This is after they had both left the UFC.
It looks like a place where you have Tuesday
Yeah, see,
night fights.
look at that. Look at the
Yeah.
ceiling. Look at
Yeah.
that fucking chandelier. What is that? That's
That's
nuts.
cool.
It's bizarre.
Oh,
Look at it. He dinged
Oleg
him.
throwing down.
Oleg just tagged him. I mean, like, we thought like Marco Ruas at the time was like a world class striker. You know, it's interesting.
Back then he was.
He was really good for MMA. He was really good at a bunch of different things. But if you compared him back then to a guy like Andy Hoog, who was fighting at K1 at the same time, who was a real world class striker, or a guy like Jerome Lebanner, or you know, Peter Ertz, it's a big fucking difference.
Marco Ruas, first guy to use leg kicks successfully in the UFC.
Paul Varlins chopped
First
down
guy.
the fucking
Another
the polar
classic
bear.
fight.
Another
You-
one.
You youngsters,
Yeah.
watch Paul Varlins and Marco Ruas, man.
Paul Varlins was the first pigeon-toed giant American male to fight in the UFC too.
Giant.
It's been a couple of those.
Remember
was an
remember
awkward
his style?
I don't remember what
Trap
he had.
fighting.
Is that what they called it? Oh my God.
He's a master of trap.
A lot of those guys had some crazy. Eve Edwards takes the cake though. Thug Jitsu.
Yeah.
Thug Jitsu master. That's still his Twitter handle, which is funny now because he's an analyst for Fox, and his Twitter handle is Thug Jitsu. He might have to change his shit. He's a really good analyst, man. He was on like UFC Inside or whatever the fuck it is,
Really?
whatever they call it. Yeah, he was on after the fights, analyzing the fights, breaking down the fights this past weekend, the Vitor,
So,
and
I didn't know he
it's
was
really
still on the
good.
roster.
Yeah, well, he's doing an analyst's work now.
So he's not fighting?
No, he's retired. He's retired from fighting, but his analysis was really fucking
Wow.
good, man.
Wow.
The Anthony Burchak Thomas Almeida fight. He was excellent in that. Excellent. Yeah, he's very good.
What did he
dude.
commentated it?
No, after the fight, he broke down what happened.
Oh,
he broke down, and then they'll talk about like what guys have to do in order to win the fight and what their best strategies are. He's very smooth, man. Very good. Yves fought, like we said, back in the hook and shoot days when he fought Aaron Riley, which was like the 90s. He's been around for so long. I mean, he's got so much information in his head. And even though he lost some of his fights towards the end, he hasn't like suffered to the point where he's hard to hear communicate. He's very smooth, very good communicator. So he's smart about when he got out. He was like, you know what? I just step back now, and so he's like still got all his faculties. He's excellent as a analyst. Those are the best analysts, like Dominic Cruz. He's one of my favorites too.
Yeah.
Super smooth, and and also Dominic is just really hard to hit, man. He's not a guy that gets hit a lot. He's like a big part of what he does is like avoid damage. He's very smart like that. Like you very rarely see that guy in like a crazy slugfest, So because of that, I bet he'll have a long career in being an analyst after he's done fighting too.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing that there's so many football analysts after all the head trauma they go through. Yeah,
I think they just pump those dudes filled with Adderall and steroids, and wind up their ass and just push them out there. Get it.
Is there something that you can take out there that's on the black market that just makes your brain healthier?
Mushrooms.
There you go.
Yeah, for real. For real. Mushrooms is supposedly, psilocybin is one of the few things that's supposed to be able to regenerate neurons. Whether or not that's true, I don't know.
You were joking.
No, I read that.
Amber
I
Lions?
read stuff like that, and then I close my laptop because I don't even want to know the details. I'm not just going to start repeating this.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's true.
When was the last time you talked to Amber Lyons?
I emailed her really recently. She's gone on some wild trip all around the world.
Is she
doing
still
psychedelic
psilocybin?
drugs? Oh, she's doing everything, man.
Yeah.
She's everything. What do you got? She's doing it. She's trying out shit in all these indigenous cultures, traveling all over the world, writing
Dude,
about
the first
it.
time she was on your podcast, she was all business. It was all that reporting CNN shit. Had nothing to do. And during that podcast, you started talking about mushrooms and you were going off and you broke it all down, and she's sitting there and she was in a real bad spot in her life. Like her life was falling apart at that point, and she just decided, fuck it. I'm going to Peru or wherever she went in South America.
By herself.
By herself, one sock.
Yeah.
She didn't take shit. She just went. She comes back, and she's like a crusader for
weird, huh?
Psilocybin.
Crazy shit,
It's
son.
insane, man.
Sometimes you find the right people. We got 1 minute. Jesus Christ, Eddie Bravo.
1 minute.
It's over.
Jesus Christ.
Well, let's do another one before EBI, the next EBI, which is December 15th. Is that right?
Sunday, December 13th.
13th.
Downtown
13th.
LA. You could order it on pay-per-view at budovideos.com/EBI 5.
And so that will be the weekend after the UFC.
Yeah, right after Conor McGregor.
Perfect.
Right, it's the next day.
Perfect. Downtown, bitches.
Show starts at 5 o'clock. You can get your tickets at Ticketmaster. It's a 16-man submission-only tournament. This is the deepest, darkest bracket ever. Danny Procopo's returning champion. Nathan Orchard, Hani Yahya, gold medalist at Abu Dhabi. Rafael Domingos, Kim Terra, Javi Vasquez, Ruben Alvarez, leglock master from the Southeast. This is seriously, every show gets harder and harder to win. Winner take all, $20,000 possible. The winner has to win 4 matches. He gets paid $5,000 for each match he wins in regulation.
But what's the website, real quick, because we're out of time.
EddieBravoInvitational.com.
That's it. Eddie Bravo on Twitter. We'll see you fuckers. I'll see you when I get back from Australia. Holla.
Thank you, sir.